have experience and done projects, or with similar scopes. So we have no doubt that they will be doing an outstanding job overseeing the contractor's activities and making sure the contractor is building the bridge according to the state standard and national standards. We also have Angel Gardner. Angel has been doing an outstanding job, making sure the communities are informed, stakeholders are informed, and then she will be doing the same here on this project, making sure you are informed. And, so we have a robust community outreach on this project, and then we have no doubt that we, will be making sure that the project is built, meeting the commitments that we have, to you and to the stakeholders and the public in general. So with that, we have a little agenda so we're gonna go through it. The CI team will be taking over and showing you what to expect during construction and how much the schedule will be, impacting your community. And Virgil?
I apologize, looks like we're having some technical difficulty with our presentation, so it's going to be a little bit different right now from what we planned. I'm Virgil Prasagi, I'll be leading the team, and we're, as he said, we're a very robust team. We have done projects from $2 billion all the way down to $8,000. But you're not here to hear our background, you're here to talk about what DOT is bringing. Mike has developed with his staff, and I want to say a gorgeous bridge. I wish we had some pictures up here to show you. But it's a $122 million construction project that is going to start next month, September 25th. That day has come from theoretical to actually boots on the ground. The contractor for this job is Johnson Brothers Construction, and as I said earlier, it's $122 million, and it's going to go from September 2021, and we're anticipating early 2026 to complete the construction. Now, completing the construction is a pre-detour phase, is the actual detour itself, where we're going to be building the majority of the bridge, and then it's going to be a restoration phase, so it's going to happen in 3 different phases. All right, to incentivize some of the construction, because we have heard the concerns of the communities for the Village of Tequesta, of the town of Jupiter, all the residents. The department has put their money where their mouth is, I want to say, on this. They have incentivized the contractor to finish this project and finish the detour early. There's a 20-month detour starting March 13th, 2023. They have put $3.5 million at stake for the contractor to finish this in 500 days. If the contractor does not finish this in 500 days, he gets hit $35,000 a day towards that incentive. So at 600 days, that's a $0 incentive. They've also added 2 bonuses, and these are no excuse bonuses now, so they won't change. They've added a bonus that goes in effect, doesn't go in effect until November 1st, 2014, and that's to have both sides of the bridge operational. So you'll have 2 lanes in each direction. Then they have a completion bonus. This completion bonus is $1 million. That is to have everything constructed in 1,458 days. So, and as I said, this right now is $6 million on the line. It's one of the biggest incentives and bonuses projects that District 4 has put out there. Now, besides the incentive and disincentive, and my counterpart Scott will go through it, they have done a robust design to add a detour phase to do some of the physical improvements. Can you change the slide? Physical improvements to the job. So the job we're going to be improving alternate A1A. Adding structural strength to that bridge so we can handle the extra load that we're going to put on it during the detour phase. We have added intelligent transportation system along alternate A1A along US 1. This intelligent transportation system is actively monitored, and we can change the lighting, the timing, instantaneously instead of having to wait 3 or 4 days down the road for somebody to come out, get traffic counts, and observe. We're upgrading the signage, the pavement markings. We're adding bike lanes to the bridge. As I said, we are doing minor improvements to the alternate A1A bridge. Next slide, please. All right, so your existing bridge, that's on the left. You have this bridge that was built in 1952. It's very, I want to say, boxy and not that appealing, especially when you're looking at pictures of the lighthouse and you're looking at this gorgeous lighthouse and the scenery down on the inlet. Now we're going to give you something that you're going to love and enjoy to go out to the lighthouse, to the beaches, to the restaurants. All right, we're increasing the height of the bridge. We're widening the channel. All of this is to improve boat navigation and to improve traffic. By raising the bridge, we're reducing the openings by 44%. Imagine how much time you're going to save that you don't have to wait during peak hours for the bridge to come back down when a sailboat's coming through. We're relocating the existing observation deck, or we're not really relocating. We're moving and building a new observation deck underneath the footprint of the new bridge. We're adding overlooks so you can enjoy the scenery. And don't think that the existing bridge or the existing observation deck is just going to a landfill. All of that material is now going to an offshore reef at 3 locations and will be reused for fishing, for people to go diving at. All right, the typical section of the new bridge, we're adding 2 protected 8-foot sidewalks, 1 in each direction. We're adding 7-foot bike lanes. You're still going to have your 11-foot lanes. To go across the bridge now, you have to walk on the bridge or this little tiny curb. So we're improving all the safety for everybody out there. Now to speak of some of the physical features that are going to be constructed, I'll hand it over to Scott right now.
Thanks, Virgil. Thanks, everyone, for letting us present here tonight. As Virgil mentioned before in the pre-detour phase, there's going to be aspects of the construction that we're doing to prepare for this full detour, and that consists of putting in turn lanes at several of the intersections that are contained within the detour route to anticipate, some of the queue backup that could occur by putting the traffic in this detour pattern. During that phase, we'll have intermittent lane closures to build these minor widened areas to add these turn lanes and to improve the signalization at these intersections, all in preface for the detour phase. Next slide, please. Okay, the detour route that is being proposed. If you're traveling southbound on US 1, you're going to be detoured to alternate A1A, and down to Indiantown Road, back to US 1, and similar in the northbound direction, which I'm doing all this in reverse, but in the northbound direction, US 1, Indiantown to A1A, alternate A1A, and then back to US 1. As I stated before, there's going to be several intersections that we're going to be improving. Those intersections are going to include US 1 on alternate A1A, A1A and US 1, US 1 Indiantown Road, and A1A and Old Dixie Highway. The majority of these improvements are going to be temporary, put in a temporary configuration, and then when the bridge is done and the project is over, we will be putting it back in its existing configuration. The one improvement that is going to be permanent will be the intersection at alternate A1A and Old Dixie Highway, where we're shifting that entire intersection to the west and putting in new signalization as well. So these next few slides, this first one here is talking about Old Dixie and alternate A1A. You can see the shift that we're doing to the west. We're going to lengthen that left turn lane from northbound alternate A1A to Old Dixie Highway, realign it, and put in a new signalization. Again, that improvement will be permanent for the construction. The other improvements that I want to show is the turn lanes that we're putting in. Some of these areas will require widening to the inside for the median because of the footprint that's there on the existing roadway doesn't exist. So we'll have to do some minor widening with some lane reduction and milling resurfacing to restripe it and put it in that configuration. Other areas, the footprint already exists, and we simply just have to mill, resurface, and restripe, those areas. But this is one of those locations, alternate A1A and US 1. So you can see that movement where we're adding one turn lane there. Next slide. US 1, Indiantown Road. There's 2 left turn lanes there right now. We're putting in another one to accommodate that movement onto Indiantown Road from US 1. Next. And this is at Indiantown Road and alternate A1A. We're northbound Indiantown Road to make that movement onto alternate A1A. We're adding in another turn lane there for that movement. And similarly on alternate A1A to turn on to Indiantown Road, we're adding a turn lane at that location as well. Okay, so what I've just discussed there is the physical aspect of the detour, you know, the adding the turn lanes and getting the road ready to accept this traffic. You know, some of the biggest concerns, you know, with all the communities and the towns is, you know, how are we going to monitor it? How are we going to monitor the delays that pop up, you know, and keep traffic flowing? Well, the DOT in collaboration with Palm Beach County have come up with this traffic management for the entire detour. We're putting in ITS devices, several, you know, fancy names with Bluetooth, DMSs, CCTVs, all throughout the corridor so that we can view the traffic in real time, and it's all hooked to the county's traffic management center so we can see it. Signal timings can be adjusted immediately on the fly when we see these backups. Before, you know, you would get a call, somebody would have to come out there, do manual adjustments at the interchanges. With all this being on the network and people watching it 24/7, all that can be adjusted in a minute's notice. And all these devices like MVDSs, they provide the counts, the necessary information for the people at the TMC to make an informed decision of how to change that timing. And it can be done in real time to keep the traffic flowing. Our goal here at the department and the county is to, you know, move the traffic from point A to point B safely and efficiently. Okay? The benefits. As we said, this management system will be monitored 24/7. It's meant to improve the travel times, keep the traffic flowing, and alleviate the congestion. And it can provide this real-time adjustments from the traffic management center. And through this, you know, we have other advanced notifications that will be given to the public so that they can see what the delays are. So we're putting in a DMS sign on the north end of the bridge. So anybody who knows what a dynamic message sign is, if you're traveling on the highway, you see one of those big signs that has the computerized message or digital message. You'll have one of those on the north end of the bridge, so when people are coming and approaching the bridge, it will display delay times on there so people traveling can get, you know, enough notice to see what's going to be happening as they're approaching the detour. The Bluetooth updates with the county, so you can, all that traffic and delays can be seen on the internet, so people can actually log in and plan their day accordingly with that live information, that feedback that it's given from the Bluetooth device that's being in there. Other improvements that we're doing within the project limits is on the alternate A1A bridge, where we're doing some minor repairs to some of the substructure elements on the south end of the bridge. Basically doing some spall repairs and some cathodic protection. Replacing some of the joints, poured seal joints along the deck. There'll be no impact to navigation on this. No barges are allowed, you know, in the water. All this is done from land and up top. We will have lane closures on the bridge for that work. And I say lane closures, but primarily when we're doing the work, we're going to be shifting the traffic over. So, you know, we may have a lane closure to put the shift in place, just to shift it over the area that we're actually doing the work, and then, you know, put it back in its configuration. No closures will be allowed on that bridge when we are in the detour phase at all. Okay. I can't stress enough on this project that there are a lot of it's an environmentally sensitive area, and preservation of the historic features, you know, contained within the project limits. We have extensive plans in place and permit restrictions with special conditions that we'll be implementing on this project to ensure the safety of the seagrass beds, the mangroves, all the life in the water, the manatees, and so forth of the endangered species that are contained within the project corridor. Also with the historic preservation and archaeological preservation near the Lighthouse Museum. We have an extensive program in there where we're securing the chimneys for the Lighthouse Museum during our pile driving operations, making sure that that is safed up. And we have an extensive vibration monitoring plan that will be issued out to ensure that all the impacts of the buildings within the cone of influence of our project are properly monitored and preserved. Safety is our biggest thing, and we want to make sure that everything is shored up and safe throughout the project limits. Virgil touched on this, as far as the schedule. We are looking to start this fall in September for the project with the detour starting in the spring of 2023 and having the bridge complete by the fall of 2024 with the overall completion of the project by early 2026. Okay. Now, what to expect? We've gone through the phases, the project, the pre-detour phase, building the bridge in phase 2 and 3, and then bringing it back to its original configuration, the final phase. Up first and foremost during all that process is communication, right? So, it's our goal on the project to keep the community, keep the residents, constantly informed of what's going on. So you know what to expect, on your daily operations and the overall progress of the project. Our goal is to minimize impacts to the public, minimize impacts to the communities, and to talk more about our outreach program and how we're going to implement that. I'm going to turn it over to Angel. Angel.
Thank you, Scott. So yeah, as Scott mentioned, we do plan on having a very extensive outreach effort on this project. We understand how this bridge is very important to the community. So we are going to have regular updates throughout construction about the project. Definitely going to be sharing it with you all so you can share with your residents as well. The idea is to keep everyone abreast of what's happening on the project. So again, very extensive and robust outreach effort, again, throughout construction. Also, we're going to be in the community. So you will see us interacting with the community. We plan on having regular coffee with the project team at various businesses around the community, so people will have the opportunity to speak one-on-one with the project team so they can understand what's happening with the project. If there's any particular questions that they have, we can address that one-on-one, face-to-face. In addition to that, we're meeting with community groups. So in addition to meeting with you all, we're meeting with various neighborhood associations, community groups. We've already started doing that, and we're just going to keep doing that throughout construction. Whenever people want to talk to us, we're going to make sure that we're available to address whatever issues or concerns they have. Also, we are going to have a public meeting. There's going to be an open house in late September, and there's going to be some additional information coming as that's further planned. So with that, we're here to take any questions you have.
Council? Bruce? Lori?
I have a question about the DMS signs. Where are they going to be placed? Because you mentioned they're going to be there to be helpful for drivers to know kind of the backup times that's going to take them. Now, if I'm driving an area and I see that, usually there's somewhere I can get off or go around if I need to maybe not be in that. We don't have a lot of back roads to scoot aside. So where do you plan on putting those?
Understood. The DMS is only one, and it will be on the north side of the bridge. I forget, north of alternate A1A and US 1. As you're traveling southbound, you'll be able to see that.
Okay.
So to help some of the residents, we're going to do an extensive community outreach to the neighborhoods and surrounding area to the north and keep them apprised of what's happening further south.
Prior to the detour, there'll be an extensive outreach effort so people can know that this is going to be put in place. And if people get that information, more than likely they're going to adjust their driving habits as they know about it.
Yeah. I hope so. I just was curious how far in advance you were gonna put them. And then in reference to the alternate A1A bridge with those maintenance, that's the one that you're starting this fall, right?
The plan with the contractor, and we haven't received their schedule yet.
Oh, okay.
To confirm, but the plan would be to do that work, get that work done prior to the detour phase.
Okay.
So that work is planned. We only have one span on the south end of the bridge where we're doing that repair. So it shouldn't take that long at all, and it's on land. That span is on the embankment there. So that's where that work's gonna primarily take place. So that work should be done rather quickly.
Okay.
So in September, what you'll see is mostly the roadway work. And that's
All
gonna
right.
be occurring in
Would it be this year, most likely?
Correct. It's gonna start in September. That will be the first amount of work, will be all the intersection work. During the day, you won't see it from the roadway since everything will be below the bridge depth.
Okay. The last thing I just wanted to point out, it's not really a question, and there's not really anything you can magically do about it, but I do have concerns with backups that'll probably happen, especially in the beginning. I do like the fact that you're gonna be monitoring it 24/7 to maybe allow some flow, like manual flow. Because when Brightline came in and did the train tracks on Center Street, it was a nightmare.
Yes.
And my concern is if we have an ambulance that has to get through there.
Yes.
There's no side on that bridge, there's
So-
nowhere for them to jump and get around, because people won't be able to pull off anywhere.
Right, and that's the beauty of what we're putting in with this network. And I want to make the point that this ITS system that we're putting in is permanent. It's a permanent improvement to the project. So that stretch, A1A, alternate A1A, will have CCTV cameras, closed circuit TVs, that you can see from the TMC the view of the entire corridor as traffic is traveling, on alternate A1A through that detour. So if something happens, the TMC can see it, immediately, whereas when you're working on FEC, that they don't have any of that in place. So, part of the ITS is improvement of response times, improvement with the emergency responders, so we can respond quickly.
Yeah,
And
just
it's
because
what-
we have mostly medical calls.
Yes.
As opposed to fire calls, and we only have one way basically to the hospital.
Correct.
Jupiter kind of has a couple more back roads they can take, we don't.
Correct.
So just my concern is seeing them get stuck, they already get stuck. So I'm just a little concerned how that's gonna go with
Correct. And
some backups.
We're already meeting with the fire rescue, and we've already reached out to them to have meetings to discuss their concerns and to see if we can create a better plan. So
Okay.
we're working, trying to make everything better.
I just know every second counts sometimes.
Correct.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's it.
That's it. Molly? Vice Mayor?
No, it just brings up a good point in that aspect is, that closed caption, people can be able to see exactly what's going on traffic-wise. Is anybody communicating from the fire side of things, or police or paramedics, that, hey, we've got someone coming and going to hospital, get all the lights going green to move forward? Is that communication possible?
Yes, that communication is possible. And when we have those meetings and those pre-activity meetings prior to our construction where they're invited, we will give them the information of the traffic management center as well, where all that communication is, right there up front, first and foremost, so that alerts can go out and the traffic can flow through it so that emergency responders can get to the work zone. And with the contractor, obviously when they're, in their areas, they'll be alerted, as well to
Sure.
make sure that the space is allotted for the emergency responders.
I was going to ask, is there anything that we can do as a village to help with regards to the traffic aspect, or anything that you can think of throughout this project? Because we're going to be partners together in this for a long time.
Absolutely. We're going to be, as Angel mentioned, we're going to be having extensive community outreach with you guys and encourage, as much participation as can, so all communication that you need, on something. If you have questions on it, then please reach out and go through Andy, and she will vet it with the team so we can get the responses back to you as quickly as possible.
So you're our point of contact?
And especially if you guys have concerns, if you're seeing something repetitively happen, let us know. We're 10 people trying to go through everything. We have a million eyes out there, so let us know. We can't, I hate to say it, we can't gauge every small detail.
Oh, we'll let you know.
That's fine, that's
Or
what
our
I'm here
residents.
for.
And I want to make a point too, with our traffic, monitoring and the way we have it laid out, it's a plan. Plans are improved. Sometimes, at the end of the day, when you start the plan, everything is fine. But as, the traffic starts coming in, you need to make adjustments. And that's, our plan is adjustable. And the way it becomes adjustable is because of the stuff that we're implementing with the ITS network, because all those devices capturing all that data gives it to the people at the TMC where those decisions can be made based on that, which is what you have to do. So the fact that we're having it in real time, and those decisions can be made in more of an immediate fashion.
They've hit on a couple of the questions that I had, but Lori mentioned this. When you exit from Tequesta now, the biggest congestion areas or chokeholds are Center Street and Indian Town, particularly at the rush hours.
Right.
Now, it's bad even today. So that's obviously going to be a concern. You said you're going to adjust that with the traffic management system. You mentioned you're going to make that permanent. That was one of my questions. A couple other questions. Is it possible, because we have obviously flow-through commuters who come down from Martin County, but they don't stop here, they don't shop here, they just simply flow through the village to wherever they're going. Is it possible to have detours north of Jonathan Dixon Park in order to encourage some of that traffic to move to 95 instead of flowing down through Tequesta, which would obviously ease some of the concerns we have down
So
here?
it's potential we can look at. Right now, we don't have it in our plan, but it's something that we can consider and develop if we do see the need, or when we go back, we'll have our designers look at that. But I can't promise you it will go into effect without analyzing it.
Okay.
That's kind of what I was thinking with the DMS signs, like tell them beforehand,
Yeah.
rather than getting them all stuck down here.
Yeah, I kind of thought
The
that's where.
DMS signs are a little bit more trickier to install because you have to have area to install them. And I don't know if all those areas have the required facilities to install it. But again, we'll look at those and we'll try to come up with a more robust plan.
Yeah, and obviously you'd have to coordinate that with Martin County, but I think it would be beneficial. The other area of concern I had was Old Dixie, because the potential is that there is for people to reroute down County Line or reroute down to Tequesta Drive, thinking Old Dixie's going to be faster. Now, you're going to rebuild that intersection, but we could end up with massive buildups on Old Dixie as well as on US 1. I'm not sure what you do about that, but I want to make sure that's on your radar as an area of concern that we need to be thinking about, we need to be looking at. Right now, Old Dixie's primarily, I think, used by residents, not exclusively, but primarily. And I don't know that we want to have two roads that are congested at all, particularly, again, during the rush hours. Public safety has been addressed, and I know you said you're working with our police and fire. The last question I had, you mentioned some repairs to the alternate A1A bridge. What's the lifespan on that bridge, and when is that bridge likely going to need replacement?
That one I couldn't tell you. We don't know where it's at. You know anything? So, yeah, we'll look at the maintenance records, see what they have. And
Yeah, I'm just curious if we're going to be facing this again in 5 years, 6 years, 7, 8 years, whatever on the second span. So
my gut feeling would be it's going to be further than 5,
Okay.
5 or 6 years.
you think it's reasonably out into the future? Hopefully.
Yes.
Hopefully.
They-
No promises, right? But
So,
hopefully.
yeah, they have another project coming out, another improvement project for it. And so since they're putting more money into it, I don't see them putting money and just ripping it out. But we
Okay.
have to go through to confirm.
Okay.
Comparable, that's likely a 20 year from now, so at least 20 years.
So,
Okay. All right.
You got it from the bridge expert.
Gentlemen and lady, thank you very much. It's a good presentation. We're very appreciative of you giving us the updates, and we're also very appreciative of the commitment you've made to public outreach, public communication, keeping the village community informed as we go forward. And, again, I'll thank you in advance for all the efforts you're going to make to try and mitigate the impacts on us. Obviously, that is a big concern for us, and we appreciate your efforts in that regard.
Thank you for having us here today.
So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, the second presentation we have this evening is by Ben Ward. Mr. Rhodes is not here this evening, and this is going to be on the General Employees Pension Fund.
Right. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. I'm Ben Ward. I serve as the Secretary of the General Employee Pension Fund, and I'm here tonight to give you a brief summary of the performance of the fund and to give you a little information about the fund itself. To start off, let's see if I can.
Down is up.
There we go. I know there's some new council members sitting on the dais, and so I thought I'd give you a little summary of what the plan offers to the Village of Tequesta employees. When an employee does retire, they receive 2% of their final compensation, and that's based on the 5 highest years in their last 10 years of service. And then the plan also includes benefits for service retirement, or either normal or early, disability retirement, death benefits, and then depending on how the employee selects their retirement benefits, there may be a retirement survivor benefit as well. Members become eligible upon reaching 62, or if they've had 30 years of service with the village. Members are eligible for early retirement at the age of 50 if they've had 6 years of service with the village. And then the disability benefit, they receive 42% of their benefit if it occurs within the line of duty, and 25% if it's outside of village work. The village isn't the only one who contributes. The employees contribute 5% of their salary as well to the plan. As of last September, which was when our latest actuarial report was based on, we had 47 active participants. We have 9 retirees who are collecting benefits, and then there's 9 people who have left the employment of the village but would be eligible for either early or normal retirement. Last year we paid out $161,419 in benefits to the retirees. As far as activities, we had our most recent quarterly meeting just last week, August 2nd. And of course, they put on here where our next meeting is November 1st. And of course, if any of you wish to visit with us while we have our meeting, you're welcome to join us. Our financial advisor is ANCO Consulting, and they make a presentation at every one of our quarterly meetings. Jennifer Gainfort provided a review as of the last quarter to ending June 30th. At the end of the quarter, the fund had a value of $8,800,526. The asset allocation, the various investments, we have domestic equities at a little over 50%, international equities at 15%, domestic fixed income at 19.5%, global fixed income at 4%, and our real estate investment represents 9.8% of our assets. And then we have cash equivalents to pay some of our bills. As to asset allocation by managers, we have Dana Equity, which the first one there, that is actually an active managed account where they invest in various stocks domestically. And then we also have an index fund for domestic funds, which is with Vanguard. Then we have the Euro-Pacific Growth Fund, the Dana Fixed Fund for fixed assets, PIMCO Diversified Income for international fixed income, and then ASB is our group that we invest in with for our real estate. Previously, when I've made a presentation, some of you had asked how we compare our asset allocations and what are the different, what do we use for a comparison. The different indexes on the right are what we use to compare against. And I'm not going to list them all. You can see them all up there. And then this chart, I know there's a lot of numbers, and having served for 5 years, I've learned to look at a lot of numbers in all the reports we get. But the top line is how we have our asset allocation. And this is a comparison to other public pension funds throughout the United States. And if you compare our investments, if you look at I'm going to compare it to the median. Our U.S. equities, we are almost 51%. The median is little over 45. International equities, we're equal, 15%. The U.S. fixed income, we're at 19.5, and the median across the country is 25. And I guess if you look at, we got 5% more in U.S. equities than others do across the country. And then our real estate, we're at 9.75, and the median is 7.75. This is the quarterly returns as of June 30th. The total fund had a gross return of 5.83 against a benchmark of 5.67. And you can see the other investments, how they've compared to their benchmarks. They're pretty close. The only one that's gives a little concern is our real estate. But we all know what's been happening in the real estate market over the past year and a half. Our real estate fund is making adjustments as necessary, but much of their investments are industrial properties and mini storage, and also they do a lot of residential development, multifamily, that's like by transit-oriented development in the major cities. All their investments are in major cities, so they're not in the smaller markets. And then this is year-to-date returns. Our fiscal year starts October 1st. The total fund has had a gross return of 20.62% against a benchmark of 20.74. So the fund overall is doing really well. It's it kind of a lot of our stuff reflects the activity in the marketplace. The marketplace is doing quite well. One of the concerns that our advisors have said they're concerned what inflation is going to do to our investments, but time will tell how that plays out. This slide shows not only our year-to-date, but then if you look at our 3-year, it's 12.87%. 5-year is 12.03, and since we created the pension fund, which was November 1st, 2000, in comparison to other public pension funds, we're still a young fund, but we've had overall we've had a 7.2% return for our pension fund. Our target overall return is 6.5. At our last board meeting, we welcomed a new trustee, Julie Mitchell. Also, our Dana investment manager, they present twice a year, and they made a presentation to us. And again, as I mentioned earlier, our annual meeting is, our next meeting is November 1st. Every year we have an actuarial report prepared, and they said it's in good status. There's a low contribution rate. The fund is fully funded, and using reasonable assumptions of 6.5% overall rate of return. That was adjusted about a year and a half ago, down from 7%. And our actuarial report stated that we are fully funded to the 101.74% as of September 30th of last year. The report is prepared based on information from the prior fiscal year, and fiscal year ends September 30th. I guess the good news, the village contribution for October 1, 2021 will drop 9.65% of payroll to $339,505. Last year's contribution was 11.06%, or $427,005. That's the good news. So less money out of the taxpayer's pocket based on, the return. The assets are doing well, and hopefully the stock market will continue, but we'll see. It always has its cycles. So, but with that, I will conclude my presentation and try to answer any questions. I'm not a financial expert, but I'll do my best.
Thank you, Ben. Molly, let's start with you this time. Any questions? Kyle?
So a couple questions. Your equity exposure is at 50% or so. It's about 5% over the median average.
Right.
And with the actuary assumed rate of return of 6.5%, you're beating that 7.2 from the lifespan of the plan. Any thought of kind of reducing some of that exposure to equities coming to the median to reduce some of that risk while the market's high? Talking about that at all?
There hasn't been discussion of reducing our equity investments. But if the market shifts, obviously we'll have to consider that. Right now, many of our investments are in growth funds, our growth stocks, and so they're feeling comfortable with it. But Dana keeps they do most of our investing, and they keep a really good eye on it. So right now I guess we're holding fast at the 50% domestic equities.
Yeah, I would encourage you guys to talk about that with your advisor to
I will
potentially
pass that on to the board.
back off that and maybe back off a little on the growth side, go more towards value.
Yeah, overall, I mean, if you look at our international equities, we're about 65% in equities, so there could be some, exposure there. So,
And then any issues with the record keepers or anything?
any issues with what?
With the record keeper of keeping information of movement of paying out?
It's smoothed out.
Yeah.
I would have to say that we had a couple bumps in the road over the last year or so, but the good news is the young man that has been our point person with resource centers, he was planning to leave due to health issues, but he announced at the meeting on August 2nd that he's worked it out and he's going to stay. He's actually very good at what he does and has been very responsive to our requests. And so I'm comfortable that I know that trying to, there's always Michelle Gould, who's the accountant with the village. She works very hard to keep things straight between the resource center and the village, and I think things are going pretty good with that. We did have a little bump a year or so ago. Part of it is the fact that we are still probably growing as far as and developing our processes as a pension fund and how employees get their information and process stuff. But we're working through those things. So I would say communication is good, and we're working through the details.
Anything else? Bruce? Lori?
I'm good.
Okay. Just a couple of quick questions. You mentioned, Dana, we talked about this earlier. You said they are running a barbell strategy where they're balancing in the portfolio mix of value and growth. Is that?
Yeah, they are constantly looking at that. One of the comments was they in their last report was they mentioned value traps. I didn't know what that was, and he says that companies can overstate their performance and encourage you to buy their stock, but they make sure that they do their due diligence when they're investing in
Yeah, I think with value stocks, a lot of times they can be undervalued, and there can be reasons for that, but you need a catalyst that's going to spur market recognition of true underlying value. There is no catalyst. It could be undervalued forever and ever and ever. So I think when they talk about traps. With the contribution, with the actuarial report, usually you have a minimum, a recommended, and a maximum. And I know there's a 5-year averaging mechanism that can be used to smooth out some of the excesses that can occur either with a downturn in the market or with an upturn in the market. Looking at the contribution that is going to be required this year, I'm happy to see it go down. But my only concern would be we drop it, if we have a market downturn, that overfunded position could become an underfunded position. So along the lines of what the Vice Mayor was saying, I hope when we look at the actual reports, I'm assuming all those elements are factored in.
Well, part of the reason that the contribution went down this year, when they did the report based on September 30th, 2020, the number of withdrawals from the plan in 2020 was higher than what they predicted when they did it the year before. They used a number of 4 as withdrawals, but there was actually 12. And then the other thing was that the salary increases for the village did not meet what they had predicted, which I think they were 5-something%.
Yeah, they've got the salary
salary
scales.
increases were only like 3.6. And then, of course, the performance of the market also contributed to the fact that the contribution by the village. So it's anticipated that that contribution is going to go back up based on replacement of staff that may have left and wasn't in place at the time of the report. And then, of course, salaries that probably go up too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that would be my concern, simply that when you use the smoothing mechanism, that we don't, it's great to have it go down one year, but if it goes up the following year or it goes up by even more than it went down this year, we haven't really done ourselves any favors. So, I mean, the mechanism is meant to try and smooth out and provide a consistent level of contribution. So.
Based on my understanding of what our actuary reports to us, that they do factor in the smoothing effect. So,
okay.
I don't know the details,
okay.
but they do take that into consideration, so that we don't have those big fluctuations.
More significant up and downs.
We were pretty excited when it was less, but at the same time, when we found out why it was, we had less people, less salary increases and stuff like that. So, the contributions based on a percentage of the salary cost, which was 3.7 million or something like that in 2020. So, it will fluctuate.
Yeah, no, I understand. One last question. When you look at the total plan expenses, including the record keeper and the cost for the management expenses, do you know what that number is at this point in time, what the gross number is?
I said to myself, somebody's going to ask that question. And then I forgot. I didn't look it up. I want to say it's under 2%.
Okay.
Which we, as far as our expenses, we are under budget year to date. But I can get that answer to you.
Yeah, if you could just get that number and then share it with the whole council, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I will.
All right.
Get that information.
Then thank you. You guys you're doing a good job. It seems like the fund's performing well, and
well,
it's always great to be in an
appreciate
overfunded position.
I appreciate the opportunity to serve. I've been on, like I said, I've been on the board for 5 years. I personally have learned a lot. So I want to, if I may, make one comment to they're not here anymore, but being a right-of-way guy, I buy land for roads, been doing it since 1984. I appreciate the presentation they just gave. It was very informative.
All right. Thank you, Ben. We look forward to you being on the board for another 5 years.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Our next presentation is by a young man who has been interning this summer. Mr. Eli Kauffman, and he was assigned a project by Mr. Allen, and he is here to, you're getting ready to go back to school, right?
Yep.
So he's here to present the outcome of that project.
Appreciate it. Hey guys, my name is Eli Kauffman, and it has been such an honor to serve here as the summer intern for Jeremy's office and Lori's office in the Clerks. So when I started here in the summer, Jeremy tasked me with creating a residence academy for the village. So I did some research. Merlene Reed, our HR director, actually took a course similar in Wellington in 2007 and kept all of the resources. So I was able to look through that, see what they did, and kind of adapt it just for the village. So first, I want to ask, what is a Residence Academy? It is a program designed to educate residents about local government. When I started here as an intern, in the interview, Jeremy asked me, Eli, what do you know about local government? And I said, really nothing, you know? So this summer, it's been great to, meet with all the different directors and really hear about what local government is. And I think that, having residents come in and hearing from the people that are serving every day would be such a great opportunity. It's meant to answer any questions that residents have about their local government. They can come in and say, hey, I have this, really detailed question for our building department, what can you tell me? And, they can spend some time one-on-one and talk about, what that is. And it allows the various departments to share what their purpose is for the community. I think it'd be great for the residents to come in and say, hey, I didn't know what community development did, but, here's Nilsa, and she's sharing what she does, and that's so cool, and it shows kind of how it all works together. The purpose is to further their knowledge about local government, and we would encourage anyone who has any questions to show up for this and just to learn. We want to create a strong sense of community and friendship with other residents in Tequesta. We think that by having residents come together, talking about living here, what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, it'll create a strong community. And we want them to be able to meet and learn from the leaders and employees in Tequesta. To be eligible to come to the academy, we ask that the resident must live in the incorporated village of Tequesta. We ask that the resident must be 18 years or older. Jeremy and I talked about, if this is successful, maybe starting a program for high schoolers, but we'll see how this goes. And at first, there will be 20 available seats for this academy and are filled on a first-come, first-served basis. And sign-ups to the academy are to be determined. The cost is completely free for all participants. We ask for the time and commitment of the residents that show up. We would like them to stay for the entirety of the academy so they can get the full experience. And dinner from a local Tequesta restaurant will be provided weekly at no extra cost to the participants. We think this would be a great way to show, different restaurants in the area and kind of some free advertising for them. The duration of the academy is a 7-week, 8-long session, and the reason there's an extra session in there is because there's going to be a morning where there's a tour of the facilities. Each session will be 2 hours long from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m., and each presenter of the department will have about 30 minutes to share what their department does. We want to feature every department in the village, and the department head doesn't have to share for the whole time if they don't want to, but we think it's important that everyone shares. Each week we'll focus on different aspects of local government, and we would like the EAC and the business forum to also share what they do in the community and maybe build some community with the residents. Here is the schedule of events. The introduction is that first session starting February 2nd at 6 p.m. and then the next morning is the tour of facilities at 8:30. Session 3 is the building and community development. Session 4 is public works, human resources, and IT. Session 5 is parks and rec, finance and water, utilities. Clerk's office, EAC, and business forum are in session 6. The police department and fire department in our public safety are session 7, and then session 8 will be the academy graduation. The binder that you all have in front of you was created for each resident that comes in. They will receive one of these binders, and it just shares a little bit about what each department does. It has some different information, some QR codes to scan to be directed to Tequesta websites. And yep, it includes all the information that they'll need. And here's some different examples of what those pages will look like. On the completion of the academy, each participant will receive a certification of completion from our village manager. They will be able to form relationships with the employees of Tequesta as well as other residents. And they will have a valuable and beneficial knowledge of local government. Are there any questions?
Good job.
Thank you.
I would just like,
Mr. Prince?
I would just like to say that you've got me really excited. I think I'd like to sign up.
Laura?
I love it. The only little thing I would, if we were to actually put that on some real dates, to have it line up with one of our actual public meetings. And throw that in there.
Sure.
So they can see how the whole process
Yeah.
works.
Molly?
I think it's great. I really love this idea, and I know just me, while I was campaigning and even after I was elected, I toured all the facilities, and it's really eye-opening.
Yeah.
So I think this is an amazing idea.
Thank you.
glad you came for the summer.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
No, I was just going to say, great job. I would encourage us to look at a shortened version for a junior academy. I think getting people involved at the high school level would be a great thing, but this is a great starting point. So, Jeremy, I'll hand it to
You
you.
don't mind, so, I don't know, kind of start with Matt. Matt has an intern as well. Merlene had informed me that we used to do an internship program, summer program, 5-6 years ago. And I thought, you know, what a great idea, let's bring it back. So we put it out, we had some good candidates, and Eli was one of those. We did a full interview with these candidates, and Eli just blew everybody away, blew us away. We were very excited to bring him on, and he lived up to all that expectation. I know working with the clerk's office, they love working with him. He's always, what can I do to help? Given this project, we talked on it several times, but he never came, and he just took off with it. And so I do want to give him a certificate of appreciation. I want to wish him luck. I'm always going to be here if you need anything, if you need a letter of support, anything you need in your future. We were happy to have you here, and we'd love to have you again in the future. So.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, very good. Next is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'd actually like to pull one item,
Okay,
and it is it's tied into number 5. And it's number 3 of number 5. And I understand, I'm gonna have Keith elaborate, but I understand that it is under $25,000, a contract signed by the manager. But if it was by itself, I just want to express that I would not be in favor of it. And because it is chunked into all the other ones underneath number 5, I just wanted Keith to elaborate maybe why it is in there.
okay, so you want to pull that for further discussion?
I don't really need to discuss it other than just, I want to put on the record that I would not be in favor of it. And I cannot vote on it chunked in with the other ones.
Okay, well, so then we need to pull it and
Yes.
vote on it separately. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item number 5?
Well, would it be item 5 and then sub-item 3 under item 5? Because item 5 has
Multiple.
6
Mm-hmm.
sub-items to it. So I think the motion would be to pull item 5, sub-item 3 only.
Correct.
Okay. Would you like to make that motion?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye, so we'll pull that and discuss it separately. Did I have a second on the rest of the consent agenda?
I'll make a second on the rest of the
Okay,
agenda.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Okay, let's go to item 5, subsection 3.
So, item 5 are the contracts that were signed by the village manager, and under the village charter, the village manager is empowered to make contracts on behalf of the village for goods and services, provided no such contract obligates the village for a sum greater than that which is allowed by ordinance. Our code sets that number at $25,000, so the council has previously adopted an ordinance that authorizes the manager to obligate the village to contractual relationships, $25,000 or less. But the charter also says that, provided further, that such contracts are presented to the village council at the next regular meeting after the execution of the contract for action by the village council. So every month you get this list of contracts which the manager has already obligated the village to. pursuant to the charter and the code. It really is a ministerial act because of the language in the charter. Strictly speaking, the village is already obligated to this contract. I suppose that if there was a contract that had a termination clause and the council wanted to exercise something in the contract, you could do that, but generally speaking, this is a ministerial act to inform you of the contracts the manager has executed under his authority pursuant to the requirements of the charter and the code.
Lori, I take it from your comments, though, you'd like to discuss this particular item and what your concerns are.
I am
about
just
it.
not one of the ones that contributed funds to it, so I'm not comfortable voting yes on it as a whole as the other ones. So I wanted to pull it so that way we can vote on it
Okay.
as a single item.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion then to move forward with item 5, subsection 3?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, 4-1. Okay, that's the end of the consent agenda. Next is communications from citizens. What we're going to ask, as we usually do, is if you have a comment that is not related to something other than something else that's already scheduled to be on the agenda, this would be the time we would like you to come forward. The other thing I'm going to let everybody know this evening is we have a very long agenda. We have a significant number of comments on one particular item. In the past, we've been a little bit lenient with the 3-minute time limit, but because of the length of the agenda tonight and all the business that we need to get through, we are going to enforce the 3-minute time limit this evening. There will be a clock up on the monitor, so you will be able to see how much time you have and how much time you have remaining, and we would ask respectfully that you abide by this limit this evening. So I believe we have one individual who has an item that is not on the agenda. Lori?
Yes, we have.
Lori, Mary Ann, sorry.
Okay, Beth Dellinger. Am I allowed to talk for a minute?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Just state your name and your address.
Okay, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman. I'm Beth Dellinger. I live at 104 West Beverly Road, Jupiter. I've lived Jupiter in the Pines for 50 years. I think you all have a letter that I want to read, and these. Attached is a copy of the limited income senior citizen exemption for persons 65 and older. There is also a copy of the municipality low-income senior citizen exemption for citizens with income below $31,100 with homesteaded properties. This is in addition to Palm Beach County $25,000 homestead exemption. There are 39 municipalities in Palm Beach County, and 10 have passed the low-income tax exemption. In 2017, Jupiter passed it for $25,000. And in July the 20th, they passed it for the 400 of us for $50,000. So in Tequesta, there are 3,165 single-family homes. There are 2,081 that are homesteaded. Of these 2,081, there are 73 seniors with low income that would qualify for this municipality tax. So I'm just, even though I live in Jupiter, I'm asking for you if you'd put it on the agenda and think of these 73 people that would benefit from this little exemption. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think there's merit to what you're suggesting, and we do have budget meetings coming up, and this might be something we can discuss during the budget meetings. We'll see what everybody's thoughts are at that point in time, but thank you for coming here tonight.
Okay.
Thank you for making us aware of this.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Okay, next we have communications from council. Molly, would you like to start this evening? Do you have anything?
No communications.
You're good? Kyle?
We got a lot. I'm ready to go through this now.
I'm just gonna say a quick thank you, Chief, to your Operation Smart or Safe Start. You guys hanging out with all the kids, the crack of dawn or even before the crack of dawn. And to our officers that always stand in our 3-hour meetings and never sit down or take a break. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, and I don't have anything this evening either, so we will now move on to standing reports. Village Manager Allen.
So, as most of you guys know, on June 24th in Surfside, there was a terrible tragedy. You know, members of our team in Tequesta rose to the challenge. We played a role going down there in the wreckage and looking for survivors, and I just want to recognize publicly the firefighters that went down there, and Jason Fawcett, Dave McGovern, Chris Chance, Ray Giblin, John Costio, Chris Wilhelm, and Ron Sambelli. And so, you know, their contribution and, you know, putting that group above their self just should be recognized. And, you know, the other point to be recognized is, you know, after this, the municipalities, there was a huge rush to, you know, go through the certification process and look at the buildings. Palm Beach County kind of tasked the building officials of Palm Beach County to look over that. So Jose Rodriguez was part of that group. They actually put him on a subcommittee to help write the certification process. And so just recognizing Jose for being a leader in that group, and just appreciate his leadership and, you know, and putting himself out there and Tequesta out there. So just want to recognize that group for that, you know, for that situation. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the village manager this evening? Okay, moving on. Keith Davis, village attorney.
I will forego my report unless you have any questions.
Questions? Okay. Chief Medina.
Evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Village Clerk, Village Manager, Village Attorney. Thank you for the kind words. Operation Safe Start is in effect. It will continue throughout the week. I think I told everyone last year we had changed our hours 6 in the morning to 6 at night just so we could have more coverage of the school buses. It's proved to be quite successful. Just gets the officers out there earlier than before, so we're out there a little earlier. We participated in the last day of Vacation Bible at First Baptist. We had some, along with the fire department, we had some kids out there. We gave out some goodies, put some police cars and fire engines out there, and just interacted with the children out there. Officer Jesse Tequesta has finished his 1-year probation with us. Officer Kervance Norval just completed his field training officer. He is now a one-person solo patrol vehicle, and you'll see him out there. We did the Chief for the Day with Taylor and Logan Fielder. They truly had a great time. You know, they did phenomenal. By the end of the day, they fired everybody and then rehired everybody. So they went from very quiet to firing everyone. So I think they got comfortable. Across the police, in fact, Lieutenant Smolin and Jerry Lynn and Officer Franklin attended the unveiling statue for Austin Stefanos at the Jupiter Inlet. At the statue of revealing, we were there. Effective this Thursday, I know I had said I was the secretary for the Chiefs Association of Palm Beach County. I've actually been bumped up to vice president due to a retirement, so that'll take effect next Thursday. We fulfilled our COVID grant, almost all of it, with the mask and sanitizers and wipes. We're still, as I came before the council last month, looking into the conference room upgrades with the technology. We participated in JPD's National Night Out. They did kind of like a drive-by type throughout the community. We're actually discussing, see if we do something similar. I don't want to do anything with, especially with, you know, with the increase in numbers as far as a large crowd and what's going on with the rec center and the construction, but maybe we'll do something similar in October. Meetings attended, the Law Enforcement Planning Council, the virtual tabletop exercise with Chief Trube at the helm. Chief Trube and I both were at the US 1 Bridge meeting yesterday for about 3 hours on Zoom. So we got this same report. We'll actually have September 15th, Lieutenant Smolin will be attending another meeting regarding traffic and other issues that will affect us personally. Bureau of Land Management, we worked 36 hours for the month of July. We had 267 contacts. The Marine Unit, we had 82 contacts during the month, 2 vessel stops and 2 warnings issued. Officer Will Hoysrat, in regards to training, is right now in field training at Palm Beach County School, hopefully to become a field training officer with the village. He's doing a great job. We did an internal corporal testing and interviews, preliminary interviews, and then I'll be interviewing each individual. It's something that we don't have to do, but I want to make sure that every year we sit down, our corporals know our goals, our expectations, and our vision, and make sure that they're carrying out with all the new recruits that are coming out with the police department. Sergeant Yildiz attended FBI leaders training. All department had stress management and mental health wellness training. And in regards to overtime, we're projected at 84.62, and right now we're at 58.93, so we're doing pretty well with that. That's all I have.
Okay, any questions for the chief? I want to echo what Ms. Brandon said. You guys continue to do a fabulous job. The relationship you have with the community at all ages is tremendous. And as you know, we back the blue here, and we will continue to do so. But again, convey our best to everybody in the department. We really appreciate their service and what they do for us. Same thing with the fire chief, Drew. I know you're coming up next, but we're blessed to have these departments with the people that are dedicated as they are to this community and to the residents of this community. They do a fabulous job.
Do you have a question? If you don't mind. Absolutely. We do have hurricane season. We've got a little storm out there coming our way. I know a couple of years ago you purchased a vehicle for potentially use for high winds. Is that going to be operational or?
It is operational. It is operational. Once if we need it, it'll be out on the road. So knock on wood. We haven't needed it yet. Okay. But if we do have the need, it'll be out there.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
All right. Thank you.
Chief Drew.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, Mr. Manager, Village Attorney. Since we seem to be talking about the storm out there, just remind everybody it is hurricane season. We should be paying attention to our friend Fred, and hopefully he continues on his way to the Gulf and doesn't touch our area. The other negative thing, I'm going to get the negative out of the way early, is our COVID numbers. Some of you are probably already aware they've been spiking over the last month. That trend seems to be continuing, and it is an area of concern for everybody. The Delta variant seems to be much more contagious and is spreading through the unvaccinated, certainly at an unprecedented rate, but it is also spreading even in the vaccinated. So I notice I see several people that I know for sure are vaccinated, yet they're still wearing masks. So I applaud you for that. We'll continue to do our best to monitor it. I have started to reach out to Jupiter Medical Center locally just to see how they're doing and check on the surge. And hopefully I'll have more specific numbers for you next time we meet. Locally, I think we're one of the more vaccinated areas, so that does give us a little bit of strength, I think, as we weather the storm here. Regarding the rest of my report, the bridge. I know you guys got a good report on that. Again, I enjoyed our 3-hour meeting yesterday on the bridge. I have another one scheduled in September as well. And I'm also meeting with Chief Montoya from Martin County Fire Rescue and Chief Raleigh from Palm Beach County Fire Rescue, the 2 local district chiefs. I'll be meeting with them on Monday to discuss fire rescue issues specifically related to the bridge. Additionally, over the last month, I was a guest speaker for the Rotary Club on July 27th. I did help conduct a hurricane flood exercise on July 29th, which in turn allowed us to be part of the PPI meeting regarding flood management that was held on August 4th. I also attended the Florida League of Cities Fire Service Committee meeting, also August 4th. And I've had several personnel attending various meetings around the county, such as the EMS providers, the EMS Advisory Council, and the fire training officers of the Palm Beaches. On July 12th through the 14th, we hosted our final swiftwater rescue class, and we've got 5 of our guys completely through all of that training. On August 5th, Palm Beach County Emergency Management conducted an inspection of our emergency medical services. We passed with flying colors, no deficiencies. So if I could just mention, the team was led by Captain Dan Tillis, Lieutenant Ray Giblin, firefighter Andre Dodd, and our office manager Tessa McKay. So again, no deficiencies, and that's an inspection they come in where they inspect equipment, records, personnel, the whole 9 yards. The Operation Safe Start, I think, has been a success. We join the police department every year. And we get to go out and we get to see the kids, and it's always good to see the kids in something other than the back of the ambulance. So we like to do that. And that, well, we do have two more things. John Costia, one of our firefighters, completed his AA degree, and firefighter Jason Fawcett completed his Fire Officer 1. There's several other people close to completing various certifications and degrees, and I hope to be bringing that to you soon. So that concludes my report, unless there are any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Any questions for the Chief this evening?
No questions, but just I applaud your county dispatchers, because I know it takes an extra amount of seconds for the regular dispatchers to contact the county ones. And by the time my husband was still on the phone, you could already hear the sirens. So let's keep up that response time.
It's the way it's supposed to work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Mr. Hammond, Utilities.
All right, good evening. Start off, we had a couple of our team members represent the village on Channel 25 last night, highlighting the work that our team does for preparation for storms. That was David Tinoco and Stephen Masagno. We have Mary Ann's pulling up a few pictures. If you put it in a full screen mode, it'll cycle through Mary Ann. But we have a maintenance and media replacement project going on at the degasifiers and air scrubbers out of the water plant. Inside those are thousands upon thousands of tiny little plastic wiffle ball looking items. And those have all been replaced on one of the systems. The second one is in progress. And Joe, our lead operator, is smiling from ear to ear on the results of them. So not super exciting for us, but he's pretty excited about it. So and the results have been marked from the replacement. So Monday, August 9th, I attended on behalf of the village the Loxahatchee River Preservation Initiative meeting. There was voting and ranking on the projects and initiatives that are put forward from there. Forte Manager, the developer of Crystal Cove Development Project, which is in Martin County, but within our water service area. They're in the process of trenching over the funds for the connection fees on their project this week. We're closing out a number of construction projects for this fiscal year and starting to ramp up in preparation for next year's round of projects. And lastly, tomorrow's the last day for Chelsea, who was our summer engineering intern. She did a fantastic job. Made some great strides in updating our GIS system, and we wish her well and wish her well in the future. And with that, any questions? Happy to take them.
Okay. Questions from council? All right, Matt, thank you very much. Okay, now we're moving on to the regular agenda. We're going to start with old business. The first one is a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Tequesta establishing an ad hoc advisory board to the Village Council to be known as the Charter Review Board, establishing its purpose, providing for its makeup, and establishing the term of its existence, providing an effective date. Mr. Allen, this is, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. During the June 28th workshop, council agreed to move forward with a resolution for this meeting. Council to accept applicants for the Charter Review Board. The goal of the committee was made up was to get 5 to 7 residents of the committee, and then they would select the chair of the village staff, and the village attorney would be available to the committee in an advisory role to provide guidance and answer questions. Attached are the 6 applicants that applied. One of them was not a resident of Tequesta, so you have 5 residents that are part of this amended resolution that is attached. I think some of the applicants may be here if you want to ask them questions, and if you have any additional questions, I can answer.
I think traditionally we've asked people who've applied for these types of roles to just come up and introduce themselves and just say a few words as to your interest in the position. So I don't know who all is here. Going through the list, I believe the first person that we had was, I believe, David Hudson. Is he here this evening? Mr. Hudson, if you'd like to come up and address us for a couple minutes? Yes. Just provide us with your name and address.
Okay. I'm David Hudson, I live at 34 Acre Hill in Tequesta Pines. And I've lived on the street there for 35 years and recently retired, so I have some time to move back into the community. My wife and I have lived there for 35 years, and our daughters grew up here and love the village. So I'd like to give something back.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your interest. Any questions from the council?
Congrats on retiring.
Yeah, absolutely to that. Okay, thank you very much, sir. The next person that we had is pretty well known to all of us, Mayor Brennan.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. I'm Abby Brennan, 523 North Dover Road, and I retired for about 3 months, and I'm back. Obviously, I just hope to be a part of this and to be part of our community as all of you are now, and that's why I'm here.
Okay. Thank you, Abby. Any questions?
So what's your position on? No, I'm joking. I know it.
All right, Vice Mayor, let's.
Don't ask, you'll get
And then we have Ms. Kimberly Kraft. Is she here this evening? Welcome, Kimberly.
It's a big testament that she wants to come back and volunteer, isn't it? My name is
She
Kimberly
retired,
Kraft,
but she's never gone.
and I live on 500 North Cypress in Cypress Ridge, and I moved to Tequesta in 2018. My family's a Navy family. My husband retired for 27 years, and I've been in healthcare up until recently. Not retired, just chose a different profession, but I have plenty of time, and I want to get involved in the community, and this is just a good way for me to kind of give back and also learn about the village.
We appreciate your interest. Any questions?
No, just
All right,
welcome.
thank you. Next individual is Dr. Gary Vonk.
How are you?
Good, welcome, Gary.
Good, thanks. My wife and I, Robbie Journey, and I moved here about a little over a year ago. We live at 250 Beach Road up here in Tequesta, and I've been in the community for about 20 years and serve on boards in this county, including the Tourist Development Board, the Authority, the Sports Commission, all those things, and think I'd like to make a contribution to the community as well. So I looked at it when I saw Eli up here. I realized the quote that's been on my fridge for the last 25 years, which is, "Children are the living messages we send to a time we will not see." And that's what he's going to do.
Well said.
So anyway, I just want to I'll be happy to be here.
Well said. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, the next individual was Mr. Curtis Heitkamp, if I pronounced that properly. Okay, and he's, I'm sorry, and I forgot Marcia, I'm sorry. Somehow I slipped right by you, which is inexcusable, and I don't know how that could have happened.
I don't either. Marcia Nielsen, 94 Beechwood Trail. For the last 4 years, Pat Watkins and I have been the history keepers for the village, so I think I'll bring to this committee, along with my compadre, the historical reasons why some of the things are in the charter.
One question for the village attorney, actually. The issue of serving on 2 committees simultaneously?
This is I'm a volunteer. I
Oh,
don't serve on a committee.
That doesn't count as an official, okay. Just wanted to clarify that, just to make sure.
She's got it covered.
Okay, so we've got 6 candidates, 5 of whom are village residents. Mr. Heitkamp is not. If we look at experience, Abby's been here 25 years, Marcia's lived here 35. Kimberly's been here 3 years, Mr. Hudson's been here 35, and Dr. Vonk has been here a year, so that would give us a nice mix and a nice blend. I'm inclined to go with the people who are 5 residents, so what's Molly?
Yeah, I agree. I'm very excited. We got 5 applicants. I want to thank you all for applying and wanting to get involved in the community and volunteer your time. I think it's a great mix of backgrounds too, so I'm excited for this committee.
Kyle?
Yeah, I'll second that. Obviously, this is part of our most important document that we have as a village, so please, please, please take it very, very serious.
Our village constitution. Bruce?
Yeah, what a great diversity, and thank you all for coming in here and showing your interest in supporting the community and giving back some time. It's very much appreciated by many, I'm sure. Sometimes you don't feel that, but sometimes it is.
Lori?
I think it's a great mix. We are a very unique, small village, so I don't think we can be really compared to other places. So I think that's important to take into account when we're reviewing that. I absolutely love keeping history involved and traditions, but we also have to maybe mold with the future and modern times. So I think that group will do a great job.
Okay. So do I have a motion to approve the 5 individuals who are residents of the village? Abby, Kimberly, David, Gary, and Marcia.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, the next item is ordinance number 1121. Mr. Davis, would you do the honors, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 1121, ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Tequesta, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances of Chapter 78, zoning, Article 11, signs, Section 78, 742, exemptions, to revise regulations for sandwich board placement, provided each and every other section and subsection of Chapter 78 shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing confidence clause, severability clause, authority to codify effective date and for other purposes. This is second reading. This relaxes the location requirements for sandwich board signs on the property.
This is a public hearing, so it's open to the community. If anybody would like to make a comment. Seeing none, it's closed to the public. It's now open for council comment.
No comment.
No comments? Okay, closed to the council. Can I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. Number 10 is ordinance 1021. Mr. Davis, if you would do the honors once again.
Thank you, Mayor. And actually, I can read them separately, but 10 and 11 sort of go hand in hand.
They're related, yep.
Agenda item number 10, ordinance 1221, ordinance of the Village Council, Village of Tequesta, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinance, amending the Village Charter at Article 2, Section 2.02 to adjust the dates for qualifying for municipal elected office at the request of the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections. Finally, each and every other section, subsection, provision of the Charter of the Village of Tequesta shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflict with severability clause and authority to codify an effective date and for other purposes. Basically, the request from the Supervisor of Elections is that all municipalities push their qualifying dates back so that they occur at least 95 days prior to the election in order to allow her office to comply with statutory obligations that apply to mail-in voting procedures. So this ordinance, which amends the charter, and the next ordinance, which proposes to amend the code, would push the qualifying dates for municipal office back to the first Tuesday in November through the third Tuesday in November. Currently, they are set at the first Tuesday in December to the third Tuesday of December, so basically pushes qualifying back another 30 days.
And just brings us into the compliance with the requests that they've made. Okay, this again, it's a public hearing. Would anybody from the public like to make comment? Okay, seeing none, it's closed. Open to the council.
My only request is that it gets advertised, because that's almost a whole month before the previous December qualifying period.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, number 12. This is a resolution, 3921. Oh, I'm sorry. You said there were 2. That's right. I jumped ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry. Number 11, item 11.
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance 1321, ordinance of the Village Council, Village of Tequesta, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances of Chapter 2 Administration, Article 5 Elections, Sections 2-233 and 2-271 to adjust the dates for qualifying for municipal elected office at the request of the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections. Further amending this article to delete obsolete text, providing each and every other section, subsection, Chapter 2 shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing conflicts of severability clause, authority to codify an effective date and for other purposes.
So this is just the code change to comply.
This is the exact same request, the exact same effect. This is in the code instead of
Versus the charter. Okay. Again, public hearing open for public comments. Seeing none, open to the council. Okay. Close to the council. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, number 12. This is a resolution 3921, a resolution of the Village Council of the Village of Tequesta, Florida, approving a preliminary Tequesta Park conceptual plan, directing the village manager to provide said preliminary conceptual plan to the state of Florida through the village's not congressional, I'm going to change that, village's state representative and Senate representative at the state level, and providing for their support in acquiring funding. I know there's a number of comments on this evening. Before we get to comments, I'm going to make just a brief statement. I want to make sure that there's some clarity around this issue, because I think there's been a lot of misunderstanding about what this plan is or isn't and what it purports to do or not do, and why we're making this effort. So just to give a little history, this facility, or this park, has been part of the village for, I think, going on 60 years. I believe it was originally developed by the Kiwanis. It was shifted over to the village at Tequesta. It is currently a recreation facility. There are 3 ball fields on this park. There is a soccer field on this park. There are tennis courts. There is a dog park. There is a Girl Scout house. So this park already functions as, and was developed as, a recreational facility. To say that the facility is less than optimal in terms of the quality and the condition of the offerings would probably be a fair statement. There was a plan, there's been numerous discussions over the years about doing something with Tequesta Park to make it more usable, to make it more attractive, to increase utilization, particularly among the recreational leagues, the kids, but not only kids, adults as well. The last formal plan that was submitted was in 2010. That plan did not proceed for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, as you all know, we were coming out of the Great Recession. So there really was no money at that point in time to undertake an upgrade to this particular park. The other thing is, and what I've consistently said, is while we have responsibility for maintaining this park, and we have continued to do that, and since 2005, including a modest capital investment of about $180,000, we have spent approximately $2.2 million maintaining Tequesta Park. Tequesta Park is unique in that the land is not owned by us, it is owned by the state. We lease the land from the state. I have put forth the notion that if we're going to improve or upgrade this park, the village residents should not be tasked with providing the financial support to improve the park from a capital perspective. This being state land, this being leased, it could revert back to the state at the end of the lease term, which is 34 years, I believe, out into the future. So while we do have the responsibility of maintaining it, I've always maintained that any upgrades or improvements or enhancements to this park should come from the state. They should provide the underlying funding, the capital necessary to improve this park facility. Again, we don't own it. We have some control over it, obviously, since we're maintaining it, and we have it under a lease. But for us to ask our taxpayers, our resident taxpayers, to invest capital dollars into a park that is not exclusively theirs, that's open to any resident of the state, that is going to benefit, obviously, our residents, but will also benefit other parties in Palm Beach County. It'll benefit residents of Martin County. I don't think is a fair ask for our residents. So we've taken the position, or I've taken the position, that any capital improvements that get made should come through state funding. We have, and we've talked about this, in the past. Once I became mayor, and even before I became mayor, there were discussions earlier in the year about Tequesta Park and the need to do some things to improve the facility. I went out and reached out to Senator Powell and State Representative John Snyder to say, is it a possibility? Would there be an appetite on their parts to support an initiative to go to the state and request funding to make the capital improvements that are necessary? We talked to them conceptually about what that might look like. And I want to emphasize that. What we've talked about is a master concept. It is not set in stone. We'll have opportunities to make modifications to it. Is, I think, the consensus of everyone in this council that we want to have significant public input into this process. We will do public hearings or public presentations. I think the thought is we would do multiple provide multiple opportunities for people to come in and kind of view the concept and then see and get their input as to what they would like to see happen here. I think what's very important to understand is there is a natural area component to this park. We're not going to disturb that. We're not talking about eliminating any of the existing natural area that currently exists. We're talking about redeveloping the areas that are already recreational sites. The ball fields, the soccer field, some of the other areas in the park. Our intent is to preserve the natural areas. And in fact, part of what we would like to do is to be able to remove the invasive species that have trickled over into that park, remove those and replace them with Florida-friendly or Florida native species. Senator Powell has expressed very strong support for this initiative, as has State Representative Snyder. We have the support of the Martin County Commission, Jupiter Inlet Colony, the town of Jupiter. We also have the support of the Jupiter-Tequesta Athletic League. I would never say that I speak for every resident in this village. I know there will be varying opinions. I expect that. But I do know that I've spoken to a lot of parents, particularly those who have children, but not limited to those, that are very supportive of upgrading and enhancing this park and turning it into something of quality that will really benefit all the residents and benefit our children and provide recreational space. People get a little tired of always driving into Jupiter for whatever recreational activities that are taking place. They would like to have something closer to home that can be utilized here. So again, we're talking about adopting a master concept. It is open for change as we move forward. And again, we're only talking about redeveloping the space that already exists as recreational space, as ball fields, et cetera. The reason we're kind of, and I know some people think we're rushing this, we're not rushing it because we will have plenty of time for public input into this process, but we are under a deadline in terms of going to the state. The state legislative committee process starts in mid-September. To have an opportunity to move this through, we have to get through both the House and Senate committees, then it has to go to the House and Senate for a vote, and then it goes to Governor DeSantis for approval as part of the overall state budget. This effort could get derailed at any point. I mean, we want to go in with a strong presentation, but there is no guarantee we'll see $1. We could get nothing. We could get a partial allocation, $2 or $3 million, that would give us a down payment to get something started, or we could end up with a whole thing. The reason that we're trying to take advantage of the opportunity right now is because the state this year, this coming year, is going to have more dollars available for these kinds of projects than they have in the past. And that's part because of the dollars that are coming in from the federal government. So I've talked to multiple individuals who have said, look, if you're going to try and move an initiative like this forward, this is the time to do it. Now, as we go forward with this, like I said, we may or may not be successful. Hopefully we will be. No guarantee. At the end of the day, if we get all the community input and people say, hey, we don't want to do anything, we don't have to do anything. Even if we get the money, we can turn it down. But I think we have a tremendous opportunity here with the state and with the support of our representatives at the state levels, with the support of our community, our municipal communities and the counties that also view this as an opportune project that could be really great, again, for not only our community, but the communities that surround us. We have all that lined up. So what we're really talking about is trying to take advantage of that opportunity to move this whole thing forward. And like I said, we're going to get public input. If for any reason we decide we don't want to move it forward at a future date and time, we can. But if we wait, if we don't act now to at least create and avail ourselves of the opportunity, I think the opportunity could very well be lost. You could say, well, if it's a good idea, well, maybe next year. Good ideas, there's lots of good ideas that come to the state all the time. Many of them never get funded. Next year, we don't know what the financial environment will be like. We don't know if there'll be a recession. We don't know if the state will have the same level of funding available that it does today. So there's a window here that we want to try and take advantage of. Again, to create the opportunity for us to do something, I think, that would be really spectacular for the village for its residents. Again, we're going to ask for a lot of input. The decision obviously isn't mine alone. We've got the 5 council members here that will jointly make a decision, but all we're looking to do tonight is move forward with the opportunity to go forward and try and see if we can procure the funding. Again, the master concept can be changed, it can be modified, it's not set in stone, and I've communicated that to all the representatives that we've spoken with. So with that, I'm sorry, I went on a little longer than I planned to, but I know we have a comment.
3 minutes.
I did. Well, I guess that's one prerogative of being an elected official. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on quite that long. But I know we have comments. I believe we have 12 cards that have been submitted, so I'm going to have Mary Ann call up each individual. Again, we've got 3 minutes. Please give us your name and your address, and then proceed forward. So, Mary Ann?
We have Mr. Mark Security.
Thank you. My name is Mark Sperry. First of all, what you just described is not the concept that's at issue in this resolution. You know the numerous reasons to vote against this resolution from the village's perspective. This is an easy decision. For reviews on the proposal, you can see tequestanotes.org. The bottom line is that we can do much better than this at much less expense. We can make Tequesta far more beautiful and valuable, but not with the thinking that underlies the proposed concept, which isn't even featured here. From the perspective of the state of Florida, the proposal here is not a credible, deliberate plan, and so it does not provide a legitimate basis to ask the state for millions of dollars. It is not credible because it is not grounded in what residents have asked for, and is also not grounded in any kind of diligent study. Florida has many real urgent needs. To make such a request based on such a cursory and ill-advised plan would discredit the village. Among the terrible features of the proposed concept is the fact that it would destroy imperiled habitat and replace it with pavement for the road and another parking lot. You can see that in the drawing. You don't need a scale drawing for that. There are other elements that do the same. In this regard, the proposed concept destroys what is most beautiful and most valuable in this park. Tequesta should never consider a concept like that. It would be bad enough if this were any parcel of land, but the express purpose of this land under the lease and the law is to conserve natural habitat for the health and the land and of the water, and also for the public interest in being able to experience natural Florida. The proponents have suggested they'll build a classroom to educate people about nature, but how ridiculous is it to bulldoze a habitat and then build a token classroom to talk about the animals you just destroyed? What little remains of the natural habitat in this space, every square inch, should not only be preserved, but should be prioritized in any future plan. The proponent's application, as you can see in the agenda, to the state for money shows a deficiency for the proposal. It's item 17 at page 13 in the agenda, is directed to benefits that might accrue from a project seeking funds. Florida identifies issues that are important to the state. Notice that at least 4 concern the water quality. Does the proposal stand a chance of improving the quality of water? No, it doesn't. The natural habitat is much better at that. Another set of questions is directed essentially to human mental and physical health. The proponent's comments on these issues reference the benefits of parks generically. Every alleged benefit would be much better under a design more respectful of the natural space than under the proposed concept. Please oppose this resolution, and please dispose of this concept. We can do so much better. So here are some pictures that you can see of the perimeter trail as it is today through the Sandpine Scrub of the park. Many people appreciate this trail, and much of it would be destroyed under the proposed concept, and that's absolutely unacceptable. And you have to get the order right first. So here's one. You can see it's a beautiful habitat for many endangered species. That's what it is today, just the other day. And here's another one. It's like a secret garden.
All right, Mark, I'm going to...
And here's another one.
Mark,
if you don't mind, this is the last one. You can see it's a
Okay.
beautiful walking trail.
Yes, it is, and the intent, and our intent is to fully maintain and retain that walking
Do the
trail.
plan first, and then you can vote later.
The intent is, for that walking trail to remain, okay?
Your plan has a road over it and a parking lot on the National
Mark,
Reserve.
that was an...
Is this your 3 minutes additional?
No. There was an initial concept that was developed. That is not the final concept. That is not the
How are you going to go to the state with something like that?
That's not the direction that Kimberly Horn was given in developing a scale drawing. I'm just telling you, there are more facts at play here than
Do
you're.
that before going to vote for a resolution. You can't vote with the information you have. If what you say is true, then you must vote no.
We'll agree to disagree. Okay, Mary Ann?
The next speaker we have is Robert Shaw.
Good evening. Bob Shaw, 198 Gulfview. I also take issue with the issue of not disturbing habitat. As I looked at the proposed plan and the original aerial view of the park, you're going to be taking away part of that trail on the western side by the wells, going up to the parking lot.
I understand what you're saying, but actually, Jeremy could address this, but that was an initial concept that was drawn up. And again, what's been put out there that you've seen so far is not the final concept that's being worked toward. And again, whatever that concept is that we go to the state with can be changed and can be modified based on community input. But no, the trail is undisturbed in the most recent version that's been developed. And we have said verbally all along that we would maintain the trail, that we would maintain the natural space that currently exists. We would redevelop those sections of the park. I know. That we would redevelop those sections of the park that already serve as recreational areas.
Could I get a reset there?
Sure.
I'm going to give my comments as I saw the plans being delivered to us, the public. I'm not sure where to start, as there are so many unanswered questions, but I think it's fair to begin with the entire preliminary master plan. It's predicated on that being the assumption, if you build it, they will come. Even if the demand for more ball fields is eventually demonstrated, it is what village residents want. Are they willing to lose a substantial portion of natural habitat there? Are they willing to pay more in taxes to cover the operating costs? I know we all can agree that the park is in need of updating, and I'm guessing that the village would welcome state funding to simply improve the condition of existing fields and facilities. But let's have a process to involve the community in any discussion on the park. I don't believe it's fair to the citizens that we have to take it on faith that because the plan is labeled preliminary, that a balanced and pragmatic airing of alternative designs or even a simple updating would be given equal consideration. I'm wondering why an aerial photo, which wasn't provided up until tonight, of the current configuration of the park wasn't provided. That was my original comments. If you compare the current design versus the proposed concept, you can understand that you can start to understand that many ball fields are being added and what is being lost. Significant native habitat would have to be destroyed, including the construction of another parking lot and an interior road leading to the lot that paves over a large portion of the existing nature trail. I'm curious about the wording of the resolution as well. Under the second whereas, it references the purpose of the lease agreement, but it leaves out the original first sentence of that, which states, "Village shall manage the leased premises for the conservation and protection of natural and historic resources." On the appropriations request document that was provided as backup for tonight's discussion, I'm curious about some of the village's responses. On question 14, page 7, the village cites several public meetings as evidence of support for the project. On question 17, page 9, which asks for potential benefits to the project, the form requests information on the enhancement, preservation, and improvement of fish or wildlife quality. The village answer states that the park in general benefits the environment. I question whether this project's reduction in wildlife habitat would be beneficial to the environment. Continuing on question 17, the form asks for information on how the project would improve stormwater management. While the village's response states that parks have proven to help manage stormwater, I'm not sure how the project's addition of roads and another parking lot improves stormwater management.
Okay, thank you. Again, unfortunately, what you've looked at previously is not where the concept is currently. The concept where it is currently, I understand, and employed Kimberly Horn. We said at the last meeting, this drawing was not to scale, okay? We employed Kimberly Horn to come up with a scale drawing. Based on that drawing, we're back to 3 ball fields. We have gone to 2 lacrosse-sized fields. The roadway, which was done by CWA early on, is eliminated. The parking on the west side of the park is eliminated. Any expanded parking would come over where the basketball courts are. So I understand your concerns, and I understand exactly what you're saying. But, for example, we just got handed this updated drawing 2 minutes before this meeting started. So I understand you're not working with the current drawing that we're looking at, and I get that. What I am saying to you though is the goal and the purpose was simply to upgrade the facilities that were there to make them more efficient, make them more effective, not to build the Taj Mahal, but to build something that would provide a wonderful recreational spot using the land that is currently recreationally purposed.
How do you know you need $8 million for that from the state of Florida?
We've done an initial cost estimate. We will continue to refine that as we go forward. But again, what I'm trying to explain is we have an opportunity to move this forward. The timeline that we're working with is not one of our own making. It's one that is of...
Do it for next year. You could have done it last year. That's on you. Make your plan first.
All right.
Mayor, not to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Can I make a polite request? Can we just listen to all the public comments?
Yes.
Yeah, but you can't respond to every one of them. I mean, you'd be here all
Because
night.
I think we're all, us up here, going to want to have to go back and forth
Okay.
anyways on it.
All right, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have Jessica Naaman.
No baby tonight, no. Hello, council.
Hi,
My name is
Jessica.
Jessica Namath. I live at 20 Shady Lane. And I think, as you all know, I would certainly echo my fellow environmentalists and our concern for the land. To give a different perspective too, though, I am a mother of 3 who is excited to be able to share a park that I grew up in with my children now. I have safety concerns for the village, knowing that the development of the fields would also be bringing in so many more people. I think one of the special parts of our town are that we see children riding their bikes around, able to go visit these parks and to experience all of these natural resources safely. And I personally would have concern as a parent knowing that there would be an enormous amount of traffic. And you know, I don't know how many of you have seen JTAA. My daughter's school is right across from the fields in Palm Beach Gardens. When we have these sports tourism or games that are coming, I mean, it is a huge number of people that come to support their families and friends and the players, of course. I understand that you're saying that we're not planning on encroaching on that natural area. However, just as the noise and sound pollution would be affecting us citizens, I also think it would be affecting the animals. And there are so many countless species out there to take into consideration, primarily because it does border Jonathan Dickinson. You know, we've seen everything from bald eagles and gopher tortoises and snakes and, you know, a myriad of species, to the point that my children have named the gopher tortoises. There's so many. You know, and again, I would like to just point out for those that may be unaware of the importance of the gopher tortoise, it's known as a keystone species, meaning it plays a crucial role in their ecosystem, and it would be incredibly detrimental to simply relocate them, specifically because the burrows they dig provide shelter for at least 360 other animal species. Furthermore, the gopher tortoise is listed as a threatened species in Florida, and both the tortoise and its burrows are protected under state law. So again, I think that just all of the action out there, should we increase the development of the fields, the number of fields, the types of fields, and try to recruit games and sporting events and tournaments, I think would be very detrimental to all of the animals and species, in addition to our community and the safety of our children that would one day hopefully be riding their bikes there just like I did as a child. I wouldn't feel safe having my children ride their bikes there, knowing there's sport tournaments going on, and I have no idea who these outsiders are in our quaint little village that we all feel safely at home in. So I urge you to take the time to reconsider this resolution and vote no, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Who's next, Marianne?
We have Joseph Namath.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, I appreciate the opportunity to get an education here tonight and find out what's going on with that piece of property just across the County Line Road. In listening to also the news about our bridge going to take 4+ years, that's interesting with the traffic flow will be coming down there. County Line Road's 2 lanes, one east, one west. There are tremendous field facilities around Tequesta, and there isn't a craving of the village of Tequesta with the number of children here that need that kind of facility you're looking at. This comes down to looking for the money from the state. And this is not the way to do it. If this is the only way you can get funding from the state for the village of Tequesta, you guys, in my humble opinion, haven't done your homework. I don't believe in this resolution. I think you're moving too fast, and we got to come to some kind of compromise, or we should come to some kind of compromise. But that project, it's BS. Thank you.
Okay. Marianne, who's next?
Marcia Nielsen. First I have to take my mask off, and I have to put my glasses on. And I gotta talk fast. Okay, Marcia Nielsen, 94 Beechwood Trail. My concern is money. At the workshop, it was emphasized that part of this appropriation would be funding for ongoing maintenance after renovation. Reviewing the application that it was online, line 4 asks, is this a multi-year project requiring funding from the state for more than 1 year? No is checked. 4A, how much state funding would be requested after 22-23 over the next 5 years? None. 4B, similar answer to additional years of state support. Now, 13, number 13, what are the ongoing maintenance and operation costs once this project is completed? $545,000. This is all from what's online. Part D of that asks, can a state agency fund the ongoing annual recurring costs within its current operating budget? And nothing was checked on that line. It seems to me that capital improvements, fine, and any kind of grant is going to have line for line. You bought 14 swings. It seems to me that your money is going to only fund capital projects. $545,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, but 30% of, or 31% of the usage is Tequesta residents, 30% from Palm Beach not incorporated, and Martin County is another 30. Is there any justification for us paying even $179,000? Why aren't they paying their fair share? I mean, this has gone on, and I'm running out of time, but this has gone on and on since Kiwanis. It used to be our only park, and then that was valid. It was all valid then. You've got to look at it. Is it valid now? You don't have any kind of control over the thing because you can't control who comes in or any of it. You know, I would suggest that you put your money in my little park, my Remembrance Park, or look at Paradise Park and let this go. It's not necessary.
Thank you, Marcia. We're actually going to, in any other matters, I'm going to make a reference to Remembrance Park, a new development there. So, okay, who's next?
Maria Pearson.
Hello, my name is Maria Pearson, and I live at 101 Del Sol Circle in Casa del Sol, which is right across the street from the park, just so you know. Earlier on, I gave each of the folks from the council, the mayor, vice mayor, as well as Jeremy, a copy of the sheet, and I also asked that it be put into the minutes or the notes. And I'm just going to go through it. But before I do that, I do want to thank Frank for, the effort of going through and seeing about monies. My only issue is the order in which we're doing this. So I think it's a little bass-backwards is what I call it. We need to have a plan first. We have to have agreement from the village. We have to have folks that really state there's a need and a want. And as Marcia said, is there really a need or a want at this point? So I'm going to go point by point. And I looked at the form that Marcia was referring to and so many people have referred to. First thing, when I looked at it, and I did talk to Jeremy about it earlier and he explained, missing was page 8 of 11 and page 11 of 11, and he said that that was intentional because they had just moved things out of the package, so they really weren't missing. But I did question it and it's on my list. Number 2, item 3, funding has been requested in all 4 categories, no guarantees of funding received to date. How are we going to pay for this capital improvement without secured funding and financing? Number 3, item number 4, project cost is $8,512,000. I understand that the 545,000 is the estimated annual maintenance. How are we determining these numbers? So I, as a village member, would want to know how are we even coming up with these numbers, and there's got to be a basis to it, correct? My number 4, which is item 7, who and why did we contract with a registered lobbyist, and what are we paying him? I want to know that. Item 8, the question asks what county will be expending the funds. As a matter of fact, the property actually resides in Martin County and should be identified as such. I understand that the states that Martin County will benefit, but there's others. Item 10, we're looking at that 545. Where is this money going to be coming from? And someone over here just reminded me, we're talking 34 years at 545, so you're talking $18.5 million. Again, none of this has been socialized in any kind of public format. I'm sorry, there have been meetings that have been public where it's been discussed amongst individuals. However, not in a public hearing, which I think is completely wrong. There's quite a few other items. I'm going to be running out of time. I just ask that you vote against this for right now. I applaud Frank for going after the money, but the reality is we need a plan and an agreement and a need and want decision before we ask for money. It's ill advised. Thank you.
That's it? Okay. I'm going to reserve a few comments to the end, but I would like Jeremy to address a couple of issues that have been brought up, particularly with respect to this application, which I believe was really done and provided to the council and published just to show what the application looked like and to provide kind of a sample. It wasn't meant to be a completely, or even nearly a completely finalized document at this point. But Jeremy, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, and I appreciate Maria calling me. We had a good conversation about that. That document wasn't intended to be a part of the exhibit that we're going to submit, or if we submit. It was informational. And referring to the couple of pages, this document was sent to me by a representative from Palm Beach County. I'm not sure it's even the official version, but the questions that were asked is if it's not an IT project, skip these questions, go to this section. And so then there was another question, if it's not a water project, skip these sections, go to the next one. So I had cut those sections out, so when it's saying pages 8 of 11, that's the reason, because some of those questions weren't applicable. We're not going to be submitting that as a final document. From what I'm told, we work with the representatives, and they put it in their computer. The computer gets sent up to Tallahassee, so we don't submit that document. So we'll work with them, the representatives. If that's the direction that council decides to take tonight, we'll put together a complete document for that.
Okay. All right. Council comments. Bruce, I'm going to start with you.
I appreciate everybody's passion about their feelings in the environmental issues and stuff. I'm somewhat of an environmentalist. I don't think I'm as much as some of you may be that are here tonight. But I do want to tell you that I really appreciate and respect all of your opinions 100%. You know, like I would like for you to respect mine. I think that we all have to listen and try to learn from one another and try to gather enough information to hopefully make the right decision for the majority of people. You know, I'm listening to everyone, and all we're really trying to do here, and, you know, like Joe was saying, you know, we're thinking we're trying to put maybe the cart ahead of the horse a little bit, but if we miss the opportunity, you know, because everybody gets dollar signs in their eyes, and, you know, we've got this free money, got free money and free money. Well, everybody likes something for free.
There is no free money.
Would you let me finish, please?
Yes.
Thank you. You know, when you get the opportunity to get the funds that we could go in there and remodel what we have, we're not talking about going in there. Well, anyway, besides all that, all we're trying to do now is sequester the potential of getting some money to remodel and renovate what we have existing. We may not get it, but if we don't apply for it during this window, there's no telling what could happen. We may lose the opportunity of potentially getting $3 million, $4 million, $8 million, whatever the case may be. We might get zero. But if we don't apply now, that's exactly what we would get, is zero. The park as it sits, if we didn't do anything else right now, to me, needs some cleaning up. It needs to be fixed a little bit. It needs some improvements. It's old, you know. It needs to have a facelift. It needs to be tightened up here and there. If we got the money, whatever amount it is, we can take 6 months, 8 months to go in and put it out to the public. We can make this environmentally friendly. It doesn't mean that you got to go in there and have an asphalt parking lot. They've got turf block parking lots. They've got gravel parking lots. They've got lighting and stuff that's more conducive for, you know, animals and so forth. There's a lot of different ways that we can go about doing this and not necessarily have 100% agreement on everybody's side, but we can come to a mutual understanding and agreement and try to work with the people that are once so far sided on this side and so far sided on the other side, so that we can come together and make an intelligent decision and try to please as many people as we possibly can. But this is just the beginning of it. It might not come to fruition, but we've got to start and try to get the money during this time frame. And so consequently, in summary, I'm going to vote in favor of sequestering, you know, and approving this amendment. And then we can open it up should it get approved by the state. Like I said, we can take 6 months, 8 months, or as long as it takes, get the public's input to it and come in here and we come to a mutual agreement and stuff, or somewhat at least, you know, 50-50. We give a little bit, we take a little bit. We give a little bit, we take a little bit. And we try to do the right thing. I mean, but I think that y'all have to, that are against it, look at the benefits that it could possibly good. It could give some kid an opportunity to be able to go over there and play soccer. And, you know, and eventually go to the Olympics or go over there and play baseball and go to the World Series and stuff. You know, we've got to be able to support the majority of the community. So that's it.
Lori?
Sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. Where do I start? Okay, I guess I'll start. About 2 years ago, we all kind of, I know a few of us who were new, wanted to start the conversation on Tequesta Park. And we have been hitting roadblocks because we don't own it. It's also in a different county. And the point has been made that multiple municipalities do come and go out of there. July 15th, remember I was very hesitant about pulling a plan, a draft plan that maybe I think we looked at once off of the shelf and submitting it. And I'm still hesitant at the workshop, which is why in my statement I said that. Like, I'm hesitant to submit any design that has not been vetted through the process that I think we should be consistent with following, not only right now for our benefit and staying transparent with our taxpayers, but also for future council members, that there is a process in place so it's going to be flowing smoothly and projects to be done successfully. I am all for improving the park. When I walk the park, I see safety hazards such as the clay on the two backfields. They can't really be used because the clay is so low, there's a big lip. So that would have to be addressed. I was not in favor of spending money to do a scale design of that draft design that was pulled off the shelf. Because if we were to do a process of vetting the entire project and tying up all the strings that are hanging right now, that would include doing a scaled version of what we can fit, what we can't fit, what we need, what is actually not in the area that we would need to put there, what the residents want, and also the money factor. This that we've been presenting doesn't fit. So I don't want to submit this to the state because it doesn't fit. I'm not comfortable with submitting that. When we talk about the money, I think the state should put up the money to improve the park. And when I say improve, I don't necessarily say we're going to be, like Mayor said, we're not going to be building buildings, we're not going to be flattening all the trees, but it needs to be upgraded because it's a safety hazard. It looks atrocious. We are so much better than that. But our taxpayers are going to have to pay the maintenance. And I know that we up here are very aware of how tight our budget is. And we're talking about Paradise Park, and we're talking about another park, and we're talking about staying on track with our road plan. So what happens, my concern is if the state were to give us money and we take it, I would never refuse money from the state for a park project, first of all. But what if we can't meet our obligation for the maintenance financially? Do we let it go and then let the park go in dismay again? And who pays for the maintenance to bring it back? That's my concern, is we haven't had a good look at the way we're going to support that park for our taxpayers' money, because we have so many other things that we have to consider at the same time. And that's really where I'm uncomfortable with putting this design and package through right now without going through a better process right now to stay consistent and transparent and tie up those strings so that when it does go to the state, they don't come back at us going, what's preliminary mean? And how come all of your support letters say, each single one says, Martin County Board of County Commissioners has reviewed the master plan. Town Council of Town of Jupiter has reviewed the master plan. Town Commission for Jupiter Inlet Colony has reviewed the master plan. I keep hearing that this is not a master plan, but everyone keeps calling it a master plan. So I'm very uncomfortable with the inconsistency of all the specific wording and all the loose ends that aren't met and the financial obligation that we're gonna have to meet. I don't know if we can meet that financial obligation as of right now without us chomping through it. And that's where I stand.
I understand what you're saying. Molly? Or Bruce, did you want to?
I wanted to respond to some of your statements,
Okay.
and I agree with you on a lot of them, because we may get, through this thing. Let's say that we got the money. Let's say they gave us all the $8 million. I'm not saying that I can't be convinced and stuff, and once we start putting it all together, that I might vote against it. If it's going to cost us $400,000 or $500,000 and we don't have the money in the budget, or we can't justify spending that much money in the budget, I'd vote no for it. But what I'm voting for and saying that we'll go ahead is to try to get the money. It doesn't mean that we have to take it, nor do we have to spend it. If we can't justify and make this work for the betterment of the community and stuff, then we vote no for it. Tonight, we're not voting on this. We're not voting on this plan. We're voting to try to sequester to get the money to come up with a plan, and whether we can afford this plan and we can maintain this plan. It's not that we're going to move forward with it. We're going to vote to try to get the money. And if we don't want it and you can't convince everybody that's the thing to do, we give it back. It's simple as that. In my opinion, it's not like, we've got to vote for this and we're going to go in there and kill a bunch of turtles and stuff. That's not what our intent is. It's to try to get the money so we can have an opportunity, like you were saying, to improve it. It's embarrassing to go out there like it looks right now. It looks horrible. So if we can improve what we have, and then I think that we need to do that. So that's
Yeah,
really.
to your
my-
point, Lori, your comment about the ballpark, ball fields, JTA will not allow games to be played out at Tequesta Park because of the safety concerns, which speaks to the overall condition of the park. Molly?
Okay, so I came very prepared tonight because I knew it was going to be a hot topic. I do echo both some of the things that Lori and Bruce have said. But for me, it's important. I wanted to state for the record and full transparency to our residents that after the workshop, I had some time to reflect on this. I did decide to donate $500 from my discretionary fund towards the Kimley Horn scaled version, which is much less than the other council members that did donate. I thought it was important to get the scaled version to show my support and understanding for the needs of improvements at Tequesta Park because it's quite frankly embarrassing as it stands. And the importance of getting funding via an appropriation. It was important to have a baseline, I think, of a scale drawing to start with, and as we see tonight, I'm pretty sure baseball field's been dropped, a soccer field's been dropped from the master plan, is that correct? Because it doesn't fit. So I kind of wanted to get that to prove a point that the original plan doesn't fit. So I thought it was important to get this as well. I've made it very clear I haven't been a fan of this process because I do think it's very rushed and backwards, like a lot of the residents have said. But I do want to thank the mayor for your hard work in getting the state reps to support this because that was a big endeavor. Based off last week's workshop, I was assured that we have the time to fine tune the plan with public comment, to do proper analysis of positive and negative impacts to the residents, businesses, and environment, as long as a long-term financial cost before we accept any money. So that is my view, and I wanted to be transparent with my decision. Some things I'm concerned about that some of the residents have brought to attention is possibly contaminating the groundwater since the wells are at the park. I think maybe Matt would be able to comment on that. I do want to look at the budget some more. There's we could do turf. It's environmentally friendly. I've done pervious pavement parking lots. That all costs a lot more. So I want to make sure we're being smart if we're going to submit this with the amount we're asking for. I think Jeremy might have looked at some costs for turf and has an idea of what that would add to the budget. On the resolution itself, I would like to add language that it's subject to change after public comment and additional analysis of the plan is prepared. And then one other thing I noticed that I believe we talked about in the workshop was we talked about potentially going for reserves, I think, from the state. And on the application, sorry, I don't know what page it is, it said we weren't going to ask for any additional money.
Yeah, and as Jeremy said, that application was just a mock to kind of show us what it looked like. It wasn't intended to actually be the submittal that we would be putting forth.
So those are my main comments. I think, when do you have to submit by?
So, well, first of all, I know Kyle hasn't had a chance to speak yet. I agree with everybody's comments, okay? And as I said to you, Molly, under different circumstances, I would be taking the same approach you all are, okay? The two things, and the reason I was responding earlier, the things that I get, I guess, concerned about is when I believe that facts are being misstated. This council has consistently said we didn't want to intrude on the natural area. We wanted a plan that would fit with the footprint. Jeremy had talked to the state. So the state said if you fit within the existing footprint, basically, we're going to be fine. And that's, again, as you mentioned, where the scaled version came in, to make sure that whatever we came up with fit within that existing footprint, so we weren't disturbing the natural area. We would, so it's really a redevelopment and enhancement and improvement of the quality of what already exists there. That is the end objective here. As far as what I've communicated to all the representatives is we're submitting a concept, a master concept, but it is subject to change. So to the point that everybody's made, the legislature itself won't vote on approval of an appropriation until probably toward the end of January. That's when it really needs to be set before the House and the Senate. So what that means is, but the legislative committee process starts in September. So the goal is to have a solid proposal with the understanding that this is a concept that is subject to change based on community input, that we can go to the House and the Senate through the legislative process. Now, as we go through that process, I would like to see us be holding public meetings and getting the public input that we need in September and October and November to, make sure that whatever the concept is, as we move closer to finalizing it, that it reflects all of that public input. But as I've said, and Councilman Prince said this very eloquently, we're not committing to anything. If we're successful and we get the money and we as a community decide we don't want to do this, we don't have to do it. It's not like they give us the money and we're obligated to spend it.
You can't tell the state that this has had any public review at all. You're proposing a concept that has no review at all, no public review at all.
We are, again, there's been discussions about Tequesta Park for a long period of time. We have a concept that has been discussed at these meetings. I'm not going in there and saying that we have all the public input that we'd like to have and that this is final. No, and I have not said that. I have said we have a concept that is subject to change and may very well change as we move forward. So where we're at now is Senator Powell, who would be sponsoring the appropriations bill in the Senate, and Representative Snyder, what we've talked about is having a strong draft proposal to them by the end of, it would be September 3rd, that they would then be able to have their offices review, okay, and it would include the appropriations forms, so that they could review it and provide us feedback and input. It would also go to all the members of the council, and I would like to see this out on our website as well, so that at that juncture, you know, there could be public comment made as well. Then once they come back with their input, once we come back with input, we'll have another council meeting in the interim as well. We can get additional input at that time, or like I said, I'm all in favor of starting the scheduled meetings in early September if we can. We would go to them with a formal presentation that they could then take into the committees when the committees start to meet in mid-September. But then again, the legislative process runs through September till basically the end of the year. And then when the legislative session starts in January, what you have to have is you have to have the committees on both House and Senate having approved something, whether it's $1 million, $2 million, $4 million, $8 million, or they say, nope, sorry, we're not going to support this, the funding's not available. If they support it, like I said, then it goes to the House and the Senate. They've got to vote for it. And if we survive that, then it goes to DeSantis' desk and he has to approve it, not line item veto it. So, you know, as Councilman Prince said, we've got a runway here where there's, I think, plenty of opportunity to garner public input into this process. And again, I wish the circumstances were different. I, under normal circumstances, would say, yeah, I'd love to spend all the time necessary to develop a final plan before we go anywhere. But as I've said, we've got kind of a unique window here. And I'd hate to see us miss out on the opportunity. And as Councilman Prince said, it doesn't obligate us to anything. I mean, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is create an opportunity to secure the funding. And if we're able to get the funding, to move forward with something that the community agrees with and would like to move forward with. And I think we have time to garner that community input. The Vice Mayor asked at the last meeting, are we committed to gathering that community input? And I think every one of us here said, absolutely, we want the community input. But it's got to be broad-based community input. I understand and I respect the comments we've heard tonight from the people about the environment. Like I said, I've talked to a lot of other folks in the community that are very supportive of the idea that they've got kids, they want to see a first-class recreational, this is a recreational facility. They want to see this upgraded to a point where, hey, our kids can go and safely engage in activities at this park, okay, and not have to always drive to Jupiter, or not always have to drive somewhere else. There is, I think, with the number of families we have here and the number of children we have here, I think there is demand for something like this. And again, we would look to preserve, we'll get the public input. We would preserve the natural environment that already exists. And in fact, we would look to improve upon it. Like I said, we would look to take out the invasive species, replace them with Florida-friendly. You know, we would look to address those issues. And, you know, Molly, you brought up the issue of water. So, Kyle, I want to let Matt kind of maybe address that real quickly. And I know you've got comments you want to make.
Yeah, good evening again. I can quickly touch base on that. I know it was something that was the Environmental Advisory Committee had asked if I would come to their last meeting to address the same item, and I've also fielded a couple of phone calls from residents asking the same thing. So a little background, there are three. The village has 3 wells that are co-located on the Tequesta Park property, the state-owned property. They are along the western boundary of the park. Those wells have been there. They were installed during the 70s, and so with that little bit of background to get to the question at hand, the wells are as part of our routine monitoring. One of the items that's one of the many items that's sampled specifically at these wells, all the wells actually, is nitrate and nitrites, which would be specifically for fertilizing if there was some sort of contamination from that would be converted into nitrate and show up in the wells. And so, as part of that, if you go back through the history on the wells there, they are historically, and not just at these wells but across the board, they're historically at non-detect levels. So occasionally you'll get a bump just barely above what modern sampling can detect, but it's negligible. With the improvements that are up there now, that are proposed to the park, while it's rarely wise to speak in absolutes, I think that the risk to contamination of the wells from what's proposed up there is a very low risk.
And we have fields already there that are already being serviced. And
that's correct.
we already have
know Doug
recreational
and his team are
facilities
very
there.
thoughtful in the products that they apply to all of the village properties.
Well, I'll say this in response to what you're saying and stuff, and it's interesting to find out that right now the wells aren't showing any high concentration of nitrates and stuff in the well stuff. But I would think that if we went in and redid these and we maintained them the way they were supposed to be, and we used, the fertilizers and stuff that they're typically used on them, that I would think that it would get down and create potentially some higher levels and stuff. Because right now they're not using hardly anything out there, and from what I've seen on those fields. Now George sitting back there might be able to enlighten us if they've got some environmentally friendly type of fertilizers that we might be able to maintain some of those fields and stuff with that would contaminate the water. I know that there are some natural fertilizers and stuff like that you can get that doesn't go in and contaminate the water like some of the high nitrates and top fertilizers and stuff that are out there. So what I'm saying is that there are options regardless of what direction we ultimately go in, to where we can be very sensitive and stuff to the aquifer and all the native plants and all the different animals and stuff that are out there. I would want everyone to be sensitive of all of those things. I certainly don't want to go out there and do anything that's contaminate the water in our aquifer. I mean, water in Florida is very precious. Look at those poor people out west and stuff. I mean, they don't have any water out there. At least we get a little rain there in Florida and stuff where it replenishes our water supply. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Molly, what was the word you wanted to use to add to the resolution?
I had, after whereas village staff has prepared a preliminary conceptual master plan, that sentence add and is subject to change after public comment and additional analysis of the plan is prepared.
So I don't think I can really add any more to the comments that have been made. So I'd like to make a motion adding those words to this resolution.
Okay.
To approve this resolution.
All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, 4-1. All right. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate your input. We appreciate your attendance here tonight. We will, like I said, we will be aggressive in seeking public comment and public input. The goal of this is to produce something that is clearly to the benefit of the community and something that the community wants. So we will be, we just said we're going to gather the public input. So, all right, we're going to move on now. The next item, we're moving to new business. This is an application from the Mastriani family for the development of their family headquarters in Tequesta. Before we move forward on this, I would like the village attorney just to remind us of what our role is with this kind, in this type of a hearing.
So Mayor and Council, this is a quasi-judicial proceeding. This is a request for a special exception use to develop a four-story office building. Village Code allows that use as a permitted use if it is under 5,000 square feet. The request that's before you is to develop this site in excess of 5,000 square feet of gross leasable professional space, which makes it a special exception. So tonight, the issue before the council is whether it's appropriate to allow that use with that much square feet on this site. And the staff report and the application address each of your special exception criteria. This really is the first step in the development process. If the council approves the use tonight, then the project still has to go through the site plan process, which that deals more with the building, how it's located on the site, the aesthetics, the traffic flow, and all of that. Tonight, really, your concern is whether it's appropriate to allow that use, which is the professional office space in excess of 5,000 square feet on this site. And the decision-making process, as I said, is quasi-judicial, which means it's your role to listen to the evidence that's presented at tonight's hearing, which may include testimony from the applicant and will include the staff report and the application. Apply that evidence to the criteria in the code, and if you believe that the applicant has met its burden, then you should grant the request. If you believe the applicant has failed to meet its burden, then you should deny the request. That is essentially what is before you this evening for this application. If you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer them. If not, I would need to swear in the folks who are going to be speaking to you and then come back and ask you for your ex parte disclosures.
My question will be for Nilsa, so.
Okay. I've had no communications. Has anybody had any communications with?
So let me, with your permission, if I can swear in.
Yeah.
So this is a quasi-judicial proceeding. If you're going to be speaking to the village council on this matter, your testimony needs to be under oath. I can swear everybody in at the same time. If you'll please stand and raise your right hands. Do each of you swear or affirm under penalties of perjury that your testimony to the village council will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you very much. Coming back to the council, if any of you have had any ex parte discussions regarding this item with anybody, those would need to be disclosed for the record at this time.
I'm actually looking at bidding the site work currently. We have the plans in our office, and we're currently evaluating the site to bid the civil side of that project. So I'll have to recluse myself from it, where I can't participate. I don't feel like I can.
All right, then you're going to declare a voting conflict. The clerk will have the voting conflict paperwork that you'll have to fill out.
Right.
Prince, you're not permitted to participate in the discussion
right.
or the vote.
Great.
So for the rest of you, if there have been any ex parte disclosures, those would need to, or discussions, those would need to be disclosed on the record at this time.
And since that's the case, I'm going to excuse myself to the bathroom real quick.
I've had none. I've had no conversation.
Okay.
None.
Thank you, Mayor. Then we can proceed with this item.
Okay, so this is an application from the Mastriani Family Headquarters for a special exception use pursuant to Section 78-180. Mixed-use district, special exception uses of the Village of Tequesta Code of Ordinance. The applicant is requesting a special exception use business service to build a four-story, 33,274 square foot office building. The application includes a landscaping plan, one monument sign, and other site improvements. The address of the property is 691 North US Highway 1, Tequesta, Florida. Nilsa, it's all yours.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, council members, the application that is in front of you is to build a four-story office building fronting US Highway 1. As you recall, back in January 2019, the village approved a previous project. It was the Pelican Square project. It was a mixed-use project that included residential, retail, office area. So as you all know, as we all know, that project was not came to fruition. The owner of the site sold the parcel, so this is a new application on that parcel. And as Keith explained, tonight is only about the use. We are just starting this process. This application will continue to the Planning and Zoning Board, and then we'll come back later on in front of council for site plan approval. Also, the staff report is very clearly, staff is recommending 2 conditions of approval. So it's part of the final remarks, and then if council approve the use, those conditions of approvals, if it is approved by council, will be part of the development order. We further discussed those conditions of approval with the applicant. They had agreed with those conditions of approval. So they have a presentation for all of you, and since this is a special exception use, we had mailed the letters to all the 300 radius property owners.
Good evening, Mayor and
Good
Village
evening,
Council
George.
members. For the record, my name is George Gentile. I'm president of 2GHO Inc. We're glad here to, we were here in February and went over this as a pre-application workshop. And again, I appreciate Keith's comments and Nils's. We're here really just for the special exception use for an office use over 5,000 square feet. You'll be coming back and looking at the site plan and architectural, but for your review tonight, we have included it in here because it's a requirement for our application for the special exception. But we understand fully that we will be working this with you all at another meeting. So we are here for the special exception use for the Mastriani Family Headquarters LLC. And that's because your code says anything over 5,000 square feet is required to come to you as a special exception in the office use, business office use. This will be a single user building at this time. The Mastrianis will have their headquarters in this location. They already have a building in Tequesta, on Tequesta Drive now. They've been there for a while, and they are looking forward to moving their offices here at this location. The map up that you see up there shows you the specific site location. There's some other references around it that will help you understand exactly where it is, but it shows you those areas and provides you a context of where this is. It is on your US 1 corridor, which is your major commercial corridor, and we think it's definitely an appropriate use. And what we've done, what we will be doing with the design work that we've been helping with your staff on, is we've been making it compatible with the area. We've moved the building to the front on US 1 so that it doesn't impact any of the residential area in the back. And again, it's an office use, so it definitely will minimize the daily use, I mean the evening uses and other times of the week. So if I can, okay. I guess we're going to stop there. Let me just, there we go. Just a little history. In 2018, you approved the commercial mixed use, which had residential and commercial uses on the application. The site plan was approved in 2019 as the Pelican Square project, and NILSA gave you the status of that. It was sold. Our client bought it, and he's in the process of working with you all to bring a Class A office building to this location. Our architects who are here with us tonight, Spina O'Rourke, are one of the most noted architects locally here in Palm Beach County, and we've been excited to work with them on the project, and I think they're doing an exceptional job. And Mr. Mastriani III is here also, who is the family doing the project. This is just for your, again, we're not reviewing the site plan tonight, but we wanted to give you an understanding of what we're trying to do here with the building. This is a 4-story building. There'll be parking underneath on the first floor, which will actually partially tucked in to the slope on US 1, so you won't get a full composure of that building to be totally four stories at that location. The total square footage is 33,274 square feet and 14,342 square feet of leasable area. We've provided a landscape area above your requirement. The requirement is 25%, and we're at 37%. We're required with this site 48 spaces, and we're providing 59, so that in the future, and as we get into the design of it with you later, you'll be able to see why we've included 11 extra spaces. So, this is the proposed north elevation of where we are right now, working with your staff. And again, we're still working with them, and we'll be continuing to work with them on the project. This is the west elevation, fronting on US 1. The building will be engaging the street at this point, and we will have extensive landscaping on the US 1 corridor. This is the south elevation, again, where we are today with the project, and this is the east elevation facing the parking lot area that will be behind it. Some perspective views, southeast facing view. This is the northwest facing view. The square footage, and again, we're proposing it because of the 5,000 square feet special exception use. That's under your section 78180 mixed use zoning, and that's why we're here. So we have taken all of, and Nilsa was her staff did an excellent job in reviewing this in regards to all your special exception criteria. I won't go over everything, but as your report indicates, we have met and or exceeded all of the requirements of the special exception requirements in your code. This is going to be very little impact to the surrounding area. It's an office building. It is a use that is allowed in this district, and we'll be providing the requirement of landscaping and buffering that your village code requires. We think that this definitely is an infill project. It will provide a great use in the village, and will also provide a tax benefit to the village of it being here. Screening and buffering, we meet all the requirements of that. We will be extensively screening the east buffer because of the residential area, but we've moved the building forward all the way. If you recall, the Pelican Square project had units, two-story townhomes right on the back end of the project, parking area, and then another area for retail and everything on US 1. So we think that this will be a great benefit to the residents back there. Even though they're not in the village of Tequesta, we were very concerned about how we designed the building for this. We have adequate parking. Your staff has indicated that. And again, you'll be reviewing all those specific items as we come back. And I will be glad to answer any questions that I can for you on the project. And we have our architects here just in case you wanted to, although we really should be concentrating on the special exception use only. So, okay. Thank you.
Lori, would you like to start?
My question was answered in the presentation.
Okay. Holly?
Okay.
So I do have a question. You mentioned that you have 37% open space. Can you show me what that might, is that part of the parking lot? Is that part of that? Or?
I'm going to go back to the site plan. I guess
Okay.
I'll get there.
Yeah, just help me understand.
Yes, if you look at the site plan, and again, we are still working this with the staff. This area is all green open space in that area. We have a large buffer in the back, and that equates to
the parking
square
lot is not
footage.
part of it.
What's that?
The parking
No.
lot is not part of that
No.
37%. Okay.
No. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to continue on the landscape, although there is a fertilizer that we can talk about later. It's not environmentally sensitive.
That would be appreciated.
Okay.
And then the other question that I have, and I think you mentioned it about in and out egress. Will there be gates preventing potential individuals, maybe those residents, from going through because of the way traffic and
We
U-turns?
cannot do that because the village has a easement through there that we are respecting to allow that as a public easement. So the public will be able to go through that parking lot from the one side road to the other, so, okay, yeah. And just, that was a condition of the Pelican Square project. We're actually almost putting it exactly where it was originally. They moved it, and so we will be replatting the property to make sure that's the easement's in there.
George, I know we'll address this later, but I know when we did the Ostrich building, they were able to have the first floor completely below the grade level at the front of US 1, so it only presented a 3-story front. I don't know if that's possible with the grade on this particular piece of property.
The grade doesn't allow us to do that totally, and
Okay.
we are under the 50 feet. We're at 47 feet on the project. But if you look at it, and we've also tiered the building, so not all of it is
Yes.
at that same elevation.
Okay.
So, okay.
All right.
Yes.
Any other conversations? Any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry, that's right, we did have one card
Sure.
from one individual.
Abby Brennan.
Oh.
Abby Brennan, 523 North Dover Road. Because I was part of the initial presentation of this, and then I have subsequently seen some of what is coming over now, I just wanted to urge you to move forward with the special exception. What I found very interesting and very comforting was that we all had things to say at that meeting, even though we were just in the very beginning preliminary. But the building that we're seeing coming back and the information we're receiving from NILSA is that this owner is just doing everything that he can to listen to us, listen to you, and, well, listen to the whole community. Let's put it that way. And I think that that's important. I think it's really important because it is a commercial corridor. It is there for businesses, but the tiered approach, a lot of the things that they did, I believe, were notable, and I just wanted to urge you to go forward with this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Well, I think the process that was instituted, I can't even remember how many years ago, where we actually encouraged and invited the developers to come in early on and present to us what their ideas were, and garner the feedback from the council, I think has been proven to be very effective. And again, I would commend them to listening to what everybody had to say and making every effort to try and accommodate that, reflect that.
Can I just respond really quick?
Sure.
Because that was an interesting meeting, and it is very, very respectful that they came in and asked our thoughts in the beginning, and they did get a lot of feedback, and I have personally been anxiously waiting the return of it as I hear things. And for those who have not seen the original, I will say that they have made changes in an effort to fit into the Village family, hence why I probably have no comments tonight. Plus, we are looking at the very specific element of it right now.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Do I have a motion to approve?
We do have
Oh, Mr. Bradford, you did not submit a card? I'm sorry.
And do I need to be sworn in, Keith?
You're just making public comment, no, you don't.
Yes, okay. George, I don't know, yeah, this is okay. This shot here is, I'm Thomas Bradford, 44 Chestnut Trail. I want to take the opportunity not to talk about the architecture, not to talk about the site plan, except to point out to you something that I've been harping on for a number of years now. If you look at the front yard setback, this is perfect. This is what I've been telling you is missing from the Village of Tequesta. You've got all that greenery and the nice landscaping, and there's no cars, no vehicles, no SUVs. This is what I've been trying to tell you is missing in our design guidelines and in our code. And I just wanted to point it out to you because architecture I'm not commenting on, site plan I'm not commenting, but this setback is beautiful for the concept of urban design principles. Thank you for looking
You're welcome.
and listening.
And I'm sure we're going to hear more from you on this on this subject as we move forward with the vision concept. Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So,
I do want to say that we agree with the conditions.
the two conditions?
Yes.
I was going to make a motion to approve based on the two conditions.
With the two
that-
conditions.
That staff has recommended.
Yeah. Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you all.
item 14.
Mayor, may I just make one
Yes,
comment?
yes, sir.
I want to thank the Village of Tequesta Recreation Department for their assistance to the Inlet District when we had our 100-year tour of the river. I really appreciated that. It was
Okay.
great. Thank
So
you.
noted, and thank you. Okay, the next item is a special exception use, 0321. This has to do with the addition of a cross at the Catholic Church. Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir. This is also a quasi-judicial proceeding, so I'll need to, again, swear in anyone who's going to be speaking to the village council on this application. If you'll raise your right hand. Need to swear or affirm under penalties of perjury that your testimony to the village council will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
1 second, please. 1 second. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yes?
I'm ready.
Well, I don't need to say it again. Just you can.
I
Thank
do
you.
it.
Okay. And then back to council for any ex parte disclosures on this item.
No, sir.
Have none.
Okay. Nelson, take it away.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, council member, this is an application from St. Jude Catholic Church to install a cross on the front yard. So the staff report is very clear. We review all the different criteria, and we also have provided some kind of background. Last year, the applicant was approved to install a cross on the building. This subject application is not on the building, will be on the ground as an sculpture. The cross will be located in the ground, and then this application will also continue to the Planning and Zoning Board next week. So, and I don't know if the applicant would like to say any statement.
My name is Liz Shower. I was the parish secretary at St. Jude Catholic Church for 32 years. And Father Kevin Nelson, our new pastor, called me yesterday and asked me to come to this meeting this evening so that I could give the council a little bit of history in regard to why we're doing this cross. On February 13th of 2020, we removed the big cross on the top, and we had a committee of finance and the parish council, and we decided that because it was such a big to-do, we wanted to make another statement. So the crucifix that we're doing, that will be facing US 1, has been through 3 different councils. Parishioners have approved it, and the church has, had a building fund to install this, and they hired the new architect. So I hope you follow through with it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Liz.
So just the staff report shows on the last page the existing photo of the church and also the proposed crucifix, and the height of the crucifix is 32 feet. So it's in compliance with the 32 feet height freestanding cross. It's in compliance, the height is in compliance with the code. However, the code is mute in terms of how many sculptures or, could a non-residential site could have in the front yard.
But they don't have any.
No, right now, no.
Right, not
Right.
right now.
Right. Any discussion?
I mean, it's not right on the road.
No, setback.
I think it's beautiful.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I love it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. We're going to pick up some speed here, I suspect. Okay, Resolution 3721, this is authorizing the mayor to sign a Director of Community Development Consultant Agreement. So this is an agreement to continue Nelson Services as our community development person. Jeremy, did you want to add anything to this?
No, Nilsa NZ Consultants has served as our planning director for a number of years now. I want to say 10+ years. You know, this agreement comes for you because there is a rate increase. I think we were at not to exceed 129,000. There was some adjustments. They haven't asked for any staff increases in salaries on their side for a number of years, and so this agreement represents those increases. And so staff recommends approval of this agreement to keep NZ Consultants as our planning director.
Any discussion?
I mean, I'll just open it up. I mean, I haven't had any issues. Has the staff had any issues that would, you know, require that us maybe look to get some other quotes?
I have not heard any negative feedback from NZ Consultants.
Perfect.
I think we've always heard very complimentary statements about your services and the quality of the work you've done for us, so thank you. So do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next item is an approval of donation of equipment for the Tequesta Public Safety Gym Fitness Center, which is being expanded and for the use of our public safety personnel. Chief Medina.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you have for your approval, your review and approval, a donation agreement between Village of Tequesta and Mr. Rob Thompson. Just so everyone's aware, we were looking to upgrade the gym. If you haven't been to between the police and fire side, it's equipment 10, 15 years old, and it's really
Closet.
Yeah, exactly. Very outdated. So last month you all approved the expansion of it, which will go into some of the police department. However, I was looking to utilize funds from the seizure, and I met with Mr. Rob Thompson, who grew up in Tequesta. We had a lunch meeting at which time he expressed, after seeing the condition of the gym, that he would love to donate the equipment for a new gym, which is over $35,000.
Which is outstanding. Any discussion, conversation?
Who's donating that?
Rob Thompson from Waterfront Property Realty.
Uh-huh. Huh. I don't know.
What, do you need a gym at home?
I could use one.
Okay.
I would just like to add, I mean, I'd like to see the village send some type of, you know, thank you or something to take care of that. I'm sure you already done that, but.
Yeah, we're actually working on a plaque just to commemorate Mr. Thompson's very generous.
It's gonna be a surprise.
I won't tell him. But for his donation, honestly, after he viewed it, he said, you know, he wanted something better, having grew up in Tequesta. He said he wanted to do something for the men and women of Tequesta. He used to be on the Jupiter Police Foundation, and he just wanted to do something for home base. So.
Well, and I think this new facility will be great for our public safety folks. So this is great that he's willing to do this for us. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, approval of property and casualty insurance renewals. Marlene, this is you.
Yes, it is. Good evening, Mayor, Council, Marlene Reed, HR Director and Risk Manager. You have before you, first of all, I want to introduce Rodney Lewis from the Gearing Group. He's been here since 6 o'clock.
Oh, my.
Yes. The 2021 property and casualty insurance renewals returned a 9.29% increase, due mainly to property insurance increase of 12.8%. The workers' compensation also contributed. Payroll estimates increased by 8.5%. And finally, another major contributor is the general liability. This category actually decreased. It was at 12% the year before, well, this year that we're closing, and it saw a 7.4%. It returned a 7.4%. I could have written that a little better. So you have the renewal numbers with you, but I just want to say that note that the premiums for the rec center, which is being constructed, has been estimated and budgeted. It's not in this document here tonight. It's excluded in the renewal evaluation. So that's a basic summary, so if anyone has any questions, myself and Roger would be happy to answer.
Any questions, Bruce? Laura?
No.
Molly?
No.
Kyle?
No.
Just one quick question. If we, and I think I already know the answer, if we were willing to increase the deductible and take on more of the risk, would the savings and premium more than offset that risk?
You're talking the property?
Yeah.
I'm gonna allow, he's been here since 6 o'clock, he shouldn't get a chance to say so.
I suspect the answer is no, but I just figured I'd ask the question anyways.
Right, it's 100,000.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. It's actually a very good question. However, what we've found is offsetting the cost of the premiums utilizing a higher deductible doesn't necessarily correlate the amount that we increase. So if we increase our deductibles from a 25, say, to a 50 or 100, seeing a $25,000 per incident, it doesn't necessarily correlate to that same 25,000 reduction. So what we've seen from reinsurers is they're giving fewer credits now in light of raising your own cost share participation. We can, even now, try to see what some of those increases would provide in savings, but historically what we've seen, and we've been advising our clients to just stand pat where they are, because their cost share is not getting you the credits that would justify some of that, at least not what we've experienced and seen recently.
Being a municipality, and obviously some municipalities across the country have suffered in the current environment, we've obviously done well, or we've benefited here in this community. I know there's a rating structure that gets used, but I know we're also part of a larger group entity, so I don't know how much of the rating structure comes into play for us. Does it really affect us very much, or not really? Is it the group collectively that this is based on?
Well, we're in South Florida, and so our rating is going to be affected by
the hurricanes.
Yeah, the
threat,
hurricanes and the groups and the structures, and the ages of the structures as well plays a factor in it. But because we are South Florida, we are going to be lumped into regional costs, estimates, and increases by reinsurers.
Okay.
It's unfortunate, but it is the way it is.
It's the way it is.
We've done great here in trying to individualize Tequesta and each one of our clients to separate them in the eyes of our underwriters so that we don't just get lumped in, but we make them take a look at who we are and our experience, so that we don't get, melted into the pot.
Okay, fair enough.
I noticed that our mod rate squeaked up just a little bit.
Yeah.
So we must have had a claim or something that generated.
Yeah, yes, we.
Went from 0.91 to 0.93.
Yeah, not much.
Yeah, not much, but we currently are for this year, we have a total of 15, and we still haven't gotten to the end of the year as yet. But 7 of those claims are closed. The prior year, actually, in fact, the most important thing here is that we have spent more than we paid in premiums. So we're trending at 220,000 and 214,600 was the premium.
And not to turn this into an education class at this moment, but with the mod factor, with this current year or the previous year that just ended does not apply to that mod until
Next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the inland marine, you've got $1,187,627 in there, and then that's included into the premium above of the one. Where is that premium amount at? Is that the amount that we're actually insuring on the inland marine is $1,187,000?
Yes, the total value of your inland marine
Right.
right now is $1,187,000.
Are y'all adjusting the depreciation cost and stuff of the equipment as that goes down, or how does that work? How are y'all doing it?
Well, the majority, so you have about $187,000 in actual. What the carrier, all they want is to schedule anything that's valued at $25,000 or more, and that does get depreciated. Anything other than that, they give you up to $1 million for any loose items. They don't care. They don't want you to schedule it. They're just going to cover up to $1 million.
Okay.
All right, very good. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry,
Molly. You do have a question.
A couple questions popped up now. How many, did we price out with several carriers or Like, what other pricing did we get?
We did that last year, priced out with several carriers, and found the FMIT to have the most, best cost factors with the program that they provided. We do that for the village every few years to make sure that we are receiving the best credits and best programs, and we did do that last year.
And then when the budget reviewed last month, maybe Jeremy, you might know the answer, really you might, what was in the budget that we reviewed a month ago? Was this in the budget we reviewed a month ago, or has it changed?
Well, it's a bit lower. I believe the projection that we initially gave you was based on what we saw trending in the market, and I think it was around 11. Yeah.
Yeah, we put in for 10, so we came in a little off.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to health, dental, and life, where the news actually was pretty good, I think.
Yes, and I also have Christian Bergstrom from the Gearing Group. He's from the benefit side of it. Okay, so we also had put in the budget roughly 10% as well, and initially we had a 14.5% renewal. The Gearing Group did their thing. It's this dance we do every year, right? They give us these numbers, and we eventually came in at 3.8%. Overall, a few months ago, I met with the Gearing Group and Florida Blue, and we spoke about we're under 100 employees, so you don't get the details as if you were a larger organization. But they did find that our emergency room usage went down. However, they did find, that's on the good side. On the other side, they found that we had fairly high levels of certain diseases like hypertension and so on. Probably comes with the job. We have police, fire, HR, village manager. Yep. Very stressful jobs, right? We have 230 members on the plan. That's the employees and the dependents, but they just look at if you're under 100 employees, you don't get into that. So we have put in certain incentives. Florida Blue, for example, last year, if you watch certain videos, you got a $300 gift certificate, which I'm still spending. I went on, did my thing. I know a number of persons. I think, Jeremy, you did as well. And we have wellness bingo here and so on. I did do a little thing, especially since we have so many new persons, just to give you a brief background on how we trended over the years. And in 2011, I just went back 10 years. So in 2011, we had, we actually started, the employees were contributing a little bit more. We had the employee only. Right now we're contributing $0, but at the time we had them contributing $50 per month to their premium. And we did that for a while. And then in 2014, the council decided that, look, our employees, we're going to take care of our employees, and they voted to get rid of that. And at the time, so what you found was happening is that roughly the sharing was about 75% on the village and 25%, but the average now trends about 87%. But we also introduced, from time to time, we take a look at how we can improve. 2015, we introduced telehealth services, which helped a lot in moving people from emergency rooms and so on, and just using telehealth. So when we went into COVID, our staff was so versed in doing that because we had been doing that for so many years. And last year we introduced HMOs. It's just started. We're still in the first year of the HMOs. Back in 2014, we also introduced the health savings account. And so right now we have 3 plans, even though we're so small. And in wrapping up, unless you have questions, it's 3.8%, and that is within the normal range of what similar situated groups are experiencing.
Questions? I'm going to ask a question Molly asked. What did we actually have in the budget? I think it was more than that, right?
10.
Originally, the last budget that you saw,
We'd scaled it back down to the
numbers
3.8,
we had.
okay.
So the original draft budget, probably the first one you guys saw, had the 10% or had the larger number, and then we reduced it down this last budget period. So you saw that.
So we saw the 3.8, okay. Any conversation?
No, sir,
questions?
I'm good.
I've got a couple.
All right, go ahead. Fire
So this
away.
is an area, maybe I'm just not adverse or, just knowledge in this area. But I was looking at kind of last year's numbers and comparing it to Palm Beach Gardens, Green Acres, Stewart, and Martin County. And as a whole, last year's numbers, we paid, what, $2,344 for coverage. Now, the village paid a portion of that, and the employees paid a portion of that.
Employee and family.
Yep, for employee and family, that is correct. And that makes up half of or so, but a majority of the expense. Okay? So that's what I'm looking at there. Palm Beach Gardens was $1,700. So there's a difference of close to $500 that is a benefit to both the village, or to Palm Beach Gardens and their employees. Green Acres, 23, the same, roughly the same. Stewart was $1,800, and Martin County was $1,750. There is a disconnect there, and I want to understand why there is a disconnect in price. And the only thing that I can see is the number of employees. And does that have that significant of the impact by the number of employees?
There, if
Or
you're,
is it coverage that is causing that?
is this a document, the one?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You will see at the top that the ones you selected, Palm Beach Gardens, they have their own health center, so they are able to bring down their costs with that as well. They also, and that's also with Stewart, they have their own health center as well. So does Martin County, so
Okay.
that plays a huge difference. They're also self-insured.
Okay.
So, yeah,
So that's
so
another
it's a
portion.
combination of factors. And as you said, the number of employees also makes a big difference. So when you put all those factors together, and I don't know if Christian wants to elaborate on it, but yes, so it's not any one factor.
Okay. And then I also did the total from the quote that was presented tonight.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
The total that was quoted in tonight's and the documents at 1.8 million for the total annual premium. The employer's paying 1.5 and the employee's paying 256,000. That means the Village of Tequesta is paying 85% of that burden. Is that consistent across the area?
Well, hold on. If you go back to that document,
yeah.
Definitely, what the trend I'm seeing is that most employers tend to pay the employee only. That is consistent. And the reason I raised the point before that the village had, back in 2011, had started that cost sharing, which took us down to 75%. But I wanted to bring that to your attention so you understand the history. Not only did we contribute towards our premium, but there was also, in addition to the percentage that the employee was paying, they also started to pay $100 per month. All of that was rolled back. So what you've been finding over the years, each municipality or county and so on is a little different, but the village made a decision that we take care of our employees and we wanted to get rid of. I think, Frank, you may have been on the council at the time when that
I think
decision.
it came a year later, but I was
Yeah.
there for the meetings
Yeah,
at the
and-
time
and
the
don't get
discussion
me wrong,
took
I'm
place.
not
Yeah.
anti-providing for the employees.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the total cost seems to be high compared to other municipalities. And you've given me some reasons why tonight, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you.
The size of the village also, because if you're talking, I know that the Gearing Group will explain to you that because of our size, we are rolled into their book of business, and we would not have as much clout as, let's say, a West Palm Beach with 15, 56 employees and so on. But if you look at just looking at the PPO, what I tried to do in that document you're looking at, the spreadsheet, if you look at the PPO, for example, it is comparable, and if you look at the cost sharing.
Yeah, but the cost sharing plays,
Yeah.
you're playing with numbers a little bit by backing out the employee-only cost.
Right, yeah.
And
But,
I just, I don't
But it's on
see it that
par.
way.
I would say looking at this document.
If I'm not mistaken, I think too, a factor that plays into it somewhat is if you have a higher risk number of employees, that will factor into it. I mean, sometimes age has a lot to do with it. Women that are eligible to be pregnant, which all of them are, so I mean, things like that, I think do weigh in it and have an impact on the premium amounts. Is that right?
Yeah, we do have 9 what they call high-cost members. These are persons who are over 25,000. So we do have on our plan right now 9 persons. There, let's see, apart from the hypertensive and so on. Yep, pretty much that's the summary I brought. Yeah, so it's not that bad. So pretty much our experience this year and the returning numbers are within range and comparable.
Yeah. I know we've discussed this before about, when we look at the total compensation, which includes benefits and salaries, where do we want to be? So I understand where you're going with this, Kyle. This is probably part of a larger discussion that, we'll have going forward in the future as to how we want to handle this. But again, I think, it always gets back to what do we need to offer to make sure we're attracting and retaining, good employees. And I understand there's a balancing act that has to be struck here between what the residents can afford and
I think we can do a better job of looking for better numbers to be able to keep that same level of value to our employees, but give them more payout by beating down on as much as we can on the healthcare side.
One thing that we actually do is that we just give them a certain amount. You don't have to do a percentage of the premium. You can just say, okay, well, your employee, you're going to pay $200 a month for your insurance, and you want to include your family, it's going to be $300 a month. So you don't have to necessarily, if I believe I'm correct on that, is that you don't have to do a percentage. Like if we're paying 85%, employees paying 15%, you can set a designated amount.
I think what you'll see in the private sector, Bruce, you'll see more differences in how people approach this.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're in the public sector, you're measuring yourself against other public sector employers. And again, as you said, we're a small group. The experience rating doesn't necessarily play as much into our situation as it would in a larger group. Some of the other things that Marlene mentioned that, get taken into consideration. But, this is something certainly going forward. I know we've had conversations in the past about what the right balance is, and certainly something we can talk about in the future.
Well, I'll just say that this would be the last time that I vote yes for something like this. And I'd like to, ask the staff that they look into options, think outside of the box, to be able to control that cost, not going any more than 1.8 that we're paying now for this next year. So that's something I would ask, is that we can ask the staff to, for next year, start to think of some other things to do, because this is.
There's certainly other options out there.
Yeah. So I'd like a couple options coming our way next year.
And as I just want to point out, as Frank was saying, that we have to look at the market within which we compete. And when we look at the gardens, because I wanted to, that same document, if you look at the Palm Beach Gardens, where our employee and family, we contribute, the employees contribute $403 per month. Their employees, the PPO plan, their employees contribute $220. And we follow that trend. Our HMO, our employees contribute $375. They contribute $116.
Right.
As I pointed out before, when you look at the gardens, and I have to look at Jupiter, the gardens, Stewart, and places around us, because we're in the same market competing. Right. But we can, I certainly appreciate the suggestion. We try every year to look at it. We can actually, there are many ways you can reduce the cost. We can reduce the plan itself, the benefits within the plan. We can negotiate. We have 3 unions, so you'll see at the top there, as small as we are, we have 3 unions.
Yep.
So we would have to negotiate that as well.
I just think it's ultimately hurting the take-home pay for our employees, and that's something that I think we should work towards.
I've heard. We will certainly take it.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Next item up is the personnel policy update. This is telecommuting. Merlene?
Okay, telecommuting policy, that was brought to you last year. We put one in place because of COVID. What we're finding is that we do have a small group of employees who are part-time, and the policy as it stands, we needed to carve out just those. We have 4 part-time employees, so we do need to carve those out to make the policy work better for them. So the wording that's going in, it's that employees working less than 26 hours weekly, and they can work at home. So you have to have at least a 75% telecommuting rating, or you will not be eligible to telecommute. You will work at the discretion. You will work from home at the discretion of your manager. What you find is that it's a different animal when you're a part-time worker. You don't share the same philosophy, or you may want to do part-time work because you're a parent and you want to work part-time and just be able to take care of your kids and so on. So this policy is not working for them. So I met with Jeremy and said, we don't have a lot of those part-timers, so let's put something in place that works for them. So that's why this is in front of you.
Right,
We're
thank
talking
you.
about 2 persons.
Comments, Bruce?
No.
Lori?
Okay.
Molly?
Are other municipalities doing the same thing? Are other municipalities doing the same thing?
With telecommuting, it's pretty, right now everybody's still scrambling with their telecommuting policy, so there's not a lot to compare. But I will tell you that there was a municipality, I helped them with a study a few years ago in terms of benefits for part-timers, and I do know that they were working on incentivizing part-time employees separately and differently. It's different. You're looking at 2 different philosophies. So to answer your question clearly, I wouldn't be able to tell you right now, but it's something we could look at. But I do know that overall, studies have shown that part-time workers operate differently and have different needs from full-time workers. So it's hard to treat them the same way.
Well, let me ask you a question. How do you think that this have some people being able to work at home instead of only working 26 hours, and somebody authorized them, their supervisor authorized them to work from home? You think that we're going to create some animosity amongst some of the other employees and stuff that don't have the ability to work from home, and then the others get to work from home and stuff? I mean, I can see where, not just here, but everywhere, to where that could potentially become a problem, to where, you get to go home and stuff and work from your computer. I got to come in.
I'll say I've worked with some people and I wish they would work from home.
Let me do this. I mean, with this telecommuting policy that we put in place a year or so ago, I would say, the Village of Tequesta was a leader in doing that when the pandemic started. I mean, we were very successful. Even when some of the municipalities were coming back, we were able to, kind of shift some shifts, like have half the departments here, half the other members of the staff were at home, and we flipped it and back and forth. And there was municipalities that loved what we did. We're all back in the office. Nobody's working remotely. This particular policy is why I'm mostly supportive of it. Is that the 2 particular employees that we're talking about share offices. And as these numbers are the way they are, I mean, most people can go to their own office, keep your distance. The 2 particular employees that we're talking about share offices with other people. And so I'm very concerned that, even as these numbers, let's try to keep them separated. Our policy didn't allow for any flexibility. As a manager, I will guard against, some of that. As Merlene talked about, they have to have a rating score, meaning like their department head has to say that they can do 75% of their work from a computer, that they don't have to be out. So starting back with the pandemic, we really scrutinized every position to see if they really could work from home. Obviously, police, fire, it's really hard to do that. Some of our public works guys, it's hard to do that. But we do have some office professionals, and so we've really cut that out. But I think this is beneficial for us, mainly because of the COVID issue still that's lingering around. But these 2 particular employees are very hardworking employees. I don't think that there's gonna be any issues with these employees. So the part-time part of it was just to allow some flexibility for us. If that, I don't know if that answered any of your questions, or all of them, or none, so. I mean,
Oh, you did.
Okay.
You know, we can always try it for a year or two, and if it's not working the way you'd hope, you can always
Well,
make an adjustment or a change.
I don't even have to bring it back to you, I just won't let it,
Yeah.
you know, we'll
Yeah.
stop it, but.
So, okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to village holidays. Jeremy, this is your.
So President Biden signed legislation June 17th to make Juneteenth a federal holiday, and most of the municipalities kind of scrambled last minute whether they're going to adopt it or not. Most of them chose to adopt it in this coming year as a federal holiday. I'm bringing it to you now because it is a budget impact of $11,000. So assuming that we adopt this holiday like many municipalities will, because it's a federal holiday, we do have a budget impact. So I'd like to make sure that that's in the budget, which it currently is. If council decides they don't want to, then we'll bring it out. I do recommend, staff recommends that we approve this holiday, recognize the end of slavery, and recognize that the contributions that others have made before us. So I recommend that we approve this policy amendment.
All right. Discussion, Molly?
No comment.
Kyle?
Thanks, Greg.
Bruce?
How many holidays do we actually have now? And what would this put-
12.
If we approve this,
I think there's
13.
12 full. There's 12 federal, and I think this would make 13.
So it'd be 13? Lucky 13, huh?
Lori?
No.
Bruce is pondering it.
No. Mm-mm.
This is an interesting request. You're right. The date that it's celebrating is the last date that the last slaves were freed in Texas. I was a big proponent of Martin Luther King Day when it came along. I do know there are companies out there that basically have taken the approach that we'll have Martin Luther King Day, we'll have Juneteenth Day, and you can choose which of the 2 days you want to take off, rather than making it an absolute holiday, give people the flexibility. We've had 13 holidays, plus we have all the other vacation days that we provide for people. You said there's a cost impact. I understand the merits behind it. I don't disagree with that. I just, we just keep adding holidays to the list here, and it keeps getting longer and longer.
That's my point. I mean, how many more are we gonna keep adding? I mean, it seems like every time I turn around, the federal government's wanting to enact another holiday.
Well, I think, just for that, because I did look it up, I think the last time the federal government enacted a holiday was like 1985 or something. So this is like the first one that's been done in a long time. So obviously, we're following the federal government. I mean, if there's a state government that, passes a holiday, I mean, we'll scrutinize that one probably a little more than the federal government. But I think a lot of municipalities are going to take this path and have taken this path. So, that's why we're recommending approval for this. I think it's important that we recognize the contribution. When I was in Texas, I mean, this was a holiday. We had 13 holidays. Juneteenth, because that's where the holiday came from. Was Texas. So I recommend it. I don't see why we wouldn't pass it.
And the main impact is because it's in the overtime, there's individuals that get time and a half. Right.
So it's mostly public safety.
Right.
Because one of the concepts you can do is you have 10 holidays and you give 2 floating, you pick day.
Right.
But I'm not sure how you would still work that and get your time and a half.
Right.
I don't know.
So, obviously, if we were to do something like that, we'd have to run it by our 3 unions. This will have to be approved by our union. Our unions, I can't imagine them.
They're not
not to agree
They're not
to
gonna
it.
not
But
agree.
if we were to significantly change this policy, other than just adding one, we would have to negotiate that out with our union. So this is not really, it's something we need to run by and get approval, but I think this is an easy amendment to it.
I think so too. All right, motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Okay, next item is the authorized piggyback contract and purchase order with Felix and Associates of Florida for utility infrastructure repairs and improvements and concrete disposal pipe relocation. Mr. Hammond.
All right, I've got 32 PowerPoint slides to go over on this one.
Come on. Come on. I recuse myself.
No, this item dovetails into the Tequesta Bridge, I'm sorry, the
Matt.
US 1 bridge that,
Now, after 9:30, we start going into time and a half.
so this dovetails into the US 1 bridge project that came up earlier. The village has one utility pipe that goes through that corridor as part of our right-of-way permit with Florida Department of Transportation. We have the privilege of relocating to accommodate the bridge. There are 2 temporary relocations that we have to do to get out of their way, and then 1 permanent relocation to the other side of the road. So what's before you tonight is a agreement and work authorization with Felix and Associates. This is to relocate our concentrate main right at the entrance to Jupiter Cove. The reason for going with Felix and Associates is the town of Jupiter has a water main relocation at that exact same location. This is their onboard contractor. We've been coordinating with the town of Jupiter so that we're not stepping on each other's toes. We're coordinating well and getting the most efficiency out of the work as possible. So that was the decision to move forward with Felix and Associates piggybacking off from the town of Jupiter's.
All right, thank you. Any questions? All right, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next one
If I
is-
may, just real quick, and I
Yes.
don't want
Yes,
to take
sir.
up time, but, I just appreciate, Town of Jupiter, we've had a couple of good projects with them, and they've been very willing to work with us, and Matt's done a great job. I know Doug's worked with them, so just, kudos to our staff and Town of Jupiter for being a good partner with them, so.
Agreed. Okay, next one is also Matt, approval, work authorization number 2, underground utility connections for Upper Florida Aquifer well rehabilitation with Johnson and Davis.
Yep, so for the past year and a half, the utilities team has been developing and now implementing a plan for maintaining and investing into our water supply. Started with a well field analysis that then, that spurred out of that, the plan for investments into the well field. One of the big investments that was identified that was very much needed was rehabilitation of our Upper Florida aquifer, 3 of our Upper Florida aquifer wells. The first step in doing that is what to do with the large amount of water when you develop these wells. And so this project before you is a work authorization with Johnson Davis, one of our onboard underground utility contractors, to do the minor underground work that gives us the ability to safely dispose of the well water during development.
Any questions? Bruce, Lori, Molly?
Okay.
Kyle? Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
A motion.
Second?
Second.
Was that?
Second.
Oh, you second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Matt, I got a question for you.
I just asked you had questions.
Now you're putting it into overtime.
I know.
You're timed out, Bruce.
How much water do we get from rain to re-energize these wells, and does, how much water, if you know, percentage that comes down from the north through the aquifers?
So we have 2 aquifers that we draw from. The superficial aquifers, the superficial aquifer, which those wells draw from, those are from locally recharged water, rain. That makes up 24% of our permitted withdrawals for the village. The other 76% comes from the 4 Upper Florida aquifers. Those are recharged. Those are deep aquifers. They're actually artesian. Once you punch the confining layer, it's under a little bit amount of pressure. It would flow out. Those are recharged in the middle of the state, Polk County area.
Mold the town up there, huh? Good old Polk County Ridge. Okay, thank you. That helped me a lot.
Thanks, Matt. Item 23, council discussion and action on Florida League of Cities proposed resolution. So the meeting, which I will be attending tomorrow morning at 9:15, got to get to Orlando tonight, we'll be voting on these various resolutions. If everyone's had a chance to review them, I hope. Usually what the mayors have done in the past is get the consensus of the council on how you would like me to vote on our behalf. So the first one is the support for the individual. This was a resolution of support for Orlando, for the gentleman that's going to come in as the president of the Florida League of Cities. The second one was the Florida City Government Week. Third one was Florida Bicentennial. The fourth one was Florida National Flood Program, advocating, I think, basically a restructuring and improvement in the way that's all judged and addressed. Number 5 was cybersecurity support. Number 6 was infrastructure bonds that would allow some partnership with the federal government to have them pay part of the interest if you put bonds forth for infrastructure. The 7th one was having to do with the classic chemicals, working with the EPA to try and address the threats that they pose. And then the last one was support for Congress to pass an infrastructure package that did not necessarily specify the one that's currently before Congress, but specified 3 areas that they were looking for support in, which was technology, water, and broadband. So it's your pleasure as to how I choose to vote on each of these. I didn't see anything too, confrontational, or I guess too controversial, I guess I should say. Yeah.
Have a better word.
What'd you say?
What's the better word?
I would say that I would support all of them.
Okay.
I would too.
You will, Lori?
Yeah.
All right, so do I have a motion to approve support for the resolutions that are incorporated and expected to be voted on tomorrow morning?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. The last item on tonight is the annual performance review of the village manager, Jeremy Allen. Normally, for this discussion, that we ask Mr. Allen to step outside, and council will then discuss his performance review and make a determination as to how we want to proceed from a financial perspective.
He didn't step out last year.
Oh, you
Yeah.
did?
Will, I mean, whatever you
Well,
I don't mind
I know
saying
I
I
got
got to say in front of
we
him.
have, but.
You know, I'll tell you anything to your face.
They're open and honest.
Okay. All right. So if you look at Exhibit A, there were 5 criteria that were outlined in considering his performance over the past year. Leadership, fiscal responsibility, creativity, community and public relations, and council relations. So I am going to go right down the row here. Bruce, I'm going to start with you.
Well, the only way that I can really evaluate Jeremy is obviously from, my exposure, here in the meetings and stuff and the conversations that we have had over the past year, and that's my extent of, of my interaction and stuff with him. And he's always been very professional and very courteous and respectful of his position and mine as well when we've had conversations, and I've never seen him be any way other than that in any of my exposures and stuff and time and stuff with him. So I can't really express the gratitude that I have and how lucky, towards his passion towards what he does. He seems to be really passionate about his job, and he does a very good job, in my opinion, at it. And I think that we're very fortunate, in my opinion, to have someone with the dedication and the passion and stuff that he has for the job, because, not too many people are passionate about what they do, and when you're able to find that, like the village has when we found him, I think that we're extremely lucky, and then that's my extent.
All right, thank you, Bruce. Molly, I'm going to switch over to you.
I think for this one, I'll lean more on my fellow council members since I've only been up here for 5 months. I will say every time I've worked with Jeremy, he's always available when I need to talk to him about something. Anytime I've needed more information or anything, he's always gotten it for me. Really good rapport, and I agree with Bruce. He's very passionate and dedicated to his job, so it's just my input.
All right, thank you, Molly. Lori?
Where to start? Just kidding. I think you have done a great job in bringing in some new elements for us to be a leader as a village, such as bringing in interns and also pushing some of our departments to take on new tasks. And we have new things coming into the village, such as our rec center. And I'm going to be excited to see what you do with that, what we do with it, but also as a leader with staff and departments, really what you do with that as far as new employees, pushing current employees for what they can possibly achieve within themselves. I know that our budget conversations have been pretty productive. I know that we have a little bit all over the board. We are constantly reviewing it. I know that we get updates on projects that are moving, and we're looking at budgets smartly. I know from my conversations with you that you tend to weigh both sides of everything. If we were going to spend X amount, such as the roof for community center, I unfortunately don't think with COVID being here for the kind of the bulk of your time, I don't think we've seen your full potential as far as community and public relations. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm excited to see what is going to come about when we are allowed to be fully functioning, especially with our rec center opening. I think it's in you, and I know we're going to be, I think I'm going to be pleased. I just don't know if I could fully evaluate that to the 100%. But I do know that when I drive through the village, I do see Mr. Hammond, and I do see Mr. Allen walking about in the village, and Mr. Chambers as well. So Mr. Allen, I can vouch that I see him and his staff on projects, hands-on, physically out there in suit and tie, in the heat. And as far as council relations, I think we're going in the right direction still. I'm not going to say it's 100% perfect. I do know that if one of us asks for more detailed numbers on, whether it's something from Marlene, that we tend to get it all together. It's not saying where it's coming from or why. It's just saying, hey, because we're going to be having this discussion. I do really appreciate that we all get the same information, so that way when we do get to the discussion in a meeting, we are prepared and we are all on the same playing field. And that is where I'm at.
And that was an important element that we didn't have before, so I agree with you 100% on that. Kyle?
I would say that a village manager is probably one of the most difficult jobs you could ever have, period. And you've got 5 jobs who five bosses who are naturally loud and demanding, and want things fast, and they've got their own jobs too that that take up their time. And so I thought Jeremy this last year has been very respectful of our time, of getting the information that we've asked, staying true to not only the residents but also the staff. I think he's done an incredible job of managing one of the most difficult situations I can even imagine through COVID. And how do you properly separate people, excuse me, and make sure that everyone's safety and health was a priority, and to maintain a village that has to continue to operate. So my hat's off for this past year to Jeremy for the job well done, managing that difficult situation of COVID, keeping a working municipality, keeping all of us up here with the right information. I've received many compliments from residents, and it's nice to hear. And we've got someone that represents our village, great. So my hat's off.
I'm going to concur with what everybody else said. I'm going to add a little bit to it. For years we had talked about the importance of a strategic plan. We talked about the importance of transparency in the budget. We talked about the importance of a capital plan, and the importance of being far more aggressive in seeking out outside funding opportunities. And all those things are materializing with your assistance and guidance. So I'll add that to the comments that the others have made. I think you've done a very good job here in the past year. Jeremy's contract already calls for a salary increase, but traditionally there is a bonus that is paid or authorized at this point in time based on the job performance. The council has discretion as to what they think is appropriate. Obviously, you've got to take into consideration his performance, and you also have to take into consideration, you know, how it impacts others within the village structure. So, having said that, I'm open for suggestions here. Again, I'm going to.
Isn't the bonus based on a dollar amount, based on percentage of budget of some sort?
So, yes, so first of all, it's based on the performance review criteria you just discussed, and the maximum amount is 0.1% of the village's general operating budget.
Right.
Which is, what, 13?
What's that, about $13 million?
My calculator.
That I don't know.
So it's anywhere from $1 to that is the maximum.
Are you pulling it up?
I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
14,035,400.
And there is a comment too.
Oh, yes. I know Mayor Brennan wanted to speak to this issue as well.
How much is Jeremy, 13 million what?
That's okay.
13 million what?
You can make pallets for, we're going to make pallets for all of
I
us.
haven't been up this late in a long time. Abby Brennan, 523 North Dover Road. I'm so happy to hear everybody. You all touched on the different pieces and parts of what Jeremy has brought to the village. Being the old dog in the room, I just remember the relationship we did not have with a manager before, and what a breath of fresh air this is, and it is so very, very important. And I think you were right, he treats us all, this treats you and me at the time the same. There was open communication, but always very, very careful. I did want to say this. When we hired Jeremy and I negotiated that, we had a range that we agreed to. And in doing so, to his whatever, he went with the lowest salary. And at the time, we looked at it because we said, he's never been a manager before. He had been an assistant manager, or a different name, but it was the same type of a thing. So if you go back and you just kind of take a look at what other managers are making in the communities, Jeremy is definitely not in the middle, and he is not even in the middle, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I know with the budgets and whatever, we have to be very careful. I also know that what we've had in the past is some kickback from staff, sometimes saying, I'm getting 3%, you know, I'm not even going to get that. But none of them have to answer for the entire village like Jeremy does, like the manager. It's a tough thing to think about, but it is true. It's all on him from the 5 of you. As Kyle pointed out, a very, very difficult job. Everybody has a different personality and needs and things like that. But I do recommend that you look at this in some sort of a generous fashion. Don't forget the fund balance, and don't forget how we've recovered from that. That was huge. That was a very, very big deal. And like the COVID, as you were saying, I had no idea that people weren't working in the building. You called up, you had the exact same experience as if they were all sitting there. It was seamless, it was flawless. The rec center, negotiating the contract, if we look at that value, I just think, I would like to, Jeremy didn't know I was going to do this, and I apologize if I'm embarrassing you, but I just really, had I been sitting up there, I'd be saying the same thing at the dais, because I think that he has earned something here, whatever you think.
Jerry, what is your salary right now? Do you know off the top of your head? Now, the contract negotiated rate, Keith, I believe, was it 4% a year?
Based on what the...
Or is it based on what the general employees got?
The base, the starting salary when we entered into that contract was 165. That's not right.
It was how much?
165. At the beginning, October 2019, and for each fiscal year thereafter, if non-union employees receive an across-the-board pay increase, Allen's will receive a pay increase in the same amount.
Okay.
Village council may in its sole discretion increase the base salary or benefits in such amounts and to such extent as it may determine to be desirable to do. And then it gets into the performance review and
Okay, so last year it was a 3% increase across the board. Now, do we do 3% in October of 2019?
The only thing I remember, I thought we gave you like a bonus check.
We did. That's part of it, that's part of it too.
What was that?
I thought it was like 13 grand or something like that.
I think, was it 12 last year?
It was 12.
12. Jeremy, did you get a 3% in October 1st of 2019? And then you got 3% in okay, so that would put you at about 175. And the maximum bonus you said is 14? So if we do 3% across the board for general employees this year, that would be around 5250. All right, so if we did the 3%, which is what we're anticipating, that would bring you up to a little over 180. And then we're talking about the bonus. We could also increase the base more. We could take the bonus and split that between a bonus and an increase in salary. What's your pleasure?
You're at 165 right now?
180, well, 175, right?
Okay.
He's 175, and with the projected increase this year, it would take him to 180.
Yeah, okay, so I thought it was 165, I was doing the math
That was
on it.
that was the start in 2019.
When's your contract up for renewal?
2 more years ago.
He gets the bonus every year?
That's at our discretion.
Mhm.
The maximum is the village attorney said, is 1/10 of 1%. We have discretion anywhere from $1 or 0 to what the maximum is. We also can increase his salary above and beyond what we're increasing it across the board for the general employees if we choose to. I mean, one thing you could do is you could look at the bonus amount and say, rather than just paying it as a bonus, pay part of it as a bonus, part of it as an additional salary increase, above and beyond the 3%.
What are you recommending for the bonus?
And
then how do we?
I'm looking to see what.
When does the bonus due?
I think we pay, when do we pay
The
that?
agreement provides that if it's given, it's in conjunction with this performance review.
Okay, so he would get a, okay, so it'd be due next pay period. Oh, okay.
I'll throw out a suggestion. How much did you say we had to work with, Jeremy? 14,000?
Roughly 14,000.
With the pay increase he's going to get October 1st would be 180. What if we took and said, okay, we're going to take of the 14,000, give it the maximum and take him up to like 185 and then pay the other 9,000 out as a bonus now? That would be one suggestion.
Well, the number I was thinking is take his pay to 185. And to do whatever bonus and stuff that we were, that
So that'd be a little more than 5%.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be about 6%.
So is your recommendation that we do the max bonus, but take the base salary to 185 and whatever the difference is after that, paid out in the bonus?
I don't know, it's
No, what I would suggest, I was saying, we're going to do a 3% increase anyways, right?
Yeah, that's the part, yeah.
So that would take him.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, that's what the budget calls for. So that would take him to 180. And we're saying we got a little over $14,000 to play with on the bonus. One possibility would be to take part of that bonus and make it part of his permanent salary, and then pay the rest out as a bonus. So if you had 14,000, you could say, let's bump him to 185 and pay out 9,000 plus in the form of a bonus.
Yeah, that's what I think I just.
Oh,
I
okay.
think
Is that what you're, well, I don't know if that's what Bruce was saying, but.
Yeah.
Is that what you were saying too?
Mhm.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
I can't make a motion.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to do that.
Can we say that again?
So in addition to whatever the general employee increase will be October 1st, which Jeremy would be eligible for,
Mhm.
we would increase his base salary by an additional $5,000 and pay him a bonus of 9,000, whatever the
The rest in
change is.
the rest in bonus money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Somebody like to make that motion?
I just did, I thought, but we.
Sorry, yeah, I was just asking, so we're on the same page.
Okay, but I so move. Spell it out. So we're basically taking him to, we're gonna take him to 185.
We're gonna add 5,000 to his base.
We're gonna add 5,000 to his base immediately,
So it makes him 180
which
then.
makes him 180. Then he'll also get the increase on October 1st.
To take-
And the difference between the 14,000, whatever that bonus amount is,
Mhm.
and the $5,000, we'll pay that out as a bonus immediately.
How does that affect his, benefits and whatnot? Like-
Well, the base salary obviously affects his pension. I don't know,
Yeah.
do we include bonuses in the pension for the village manager? I don't know.
Say that, I'm sorry.
The bonus for the village manager, is that includable compensation for purposes of the pension? It's not, okay.
And he's not vested until 6 years.
Let me ask a question. Do you have a village vehicle? Do you drive your own personal vehicle?
I drive a personal vehicle, but I get a stipend of $400
He gets a car allowance.
There's like little,
Uh-huh.
little things in there, yeah. What do you call them? It's, so late, it's like.
Extra benefits.
So you get a car allowance in
Yeah,
of
that's what I
$400
mean,
a month?
allowance.
All right, so.
So there's a motion on there.
Bruce, you made a motion, do we have a second?
And this will be for 2 years.
Well, I mean, I was just kind of contemplating about the car allowance. What do they typically do? Because I give my guys more than that.
We could bump that if you want to bump that separately.
Yeah. I mean, might as well go ahead and include it all in there. I mean, you know, we don't want our city manager riding around in a Yugo.
I don't think $400 a month will put him in a Yugo, but yeah, we could bump that if you want to. Have you got a suggestion?
ICMA, I would say today, the standard city manager auto allowance is somewhere between $500 and $600 a month.
Okay.
And so he's undercompensated on that one.
Yeah. I give my guys 600.
All right. So are you making a motion here to increase it?
Yeah.
All right, so what is the complete motion here?
Well, I mean, we didn't even talk about the car allowance, and then I got to thinking about it. I said, well, you know.
I understand.
So I just wanted to kind of, you know,
I'm gonna-
leave everything just like it was, but raise his car allowance from $400 to $600 a month.
I'm still stuck on the 6%. I thought we had
There's no-
6% would take him to 185.
No percent.
No percent. No
So again, he's at 175. We would increase his base to 180.
Well, yeah.
He would then get 3% come October 1st, which would take him to 185.
There we go.
We would then pay the difference between the 14,000, whatever change it is, and the 5 as an immediate bonus. And to Bruce's point, if you want to do this, we can take the car allowance from $400 a month to $500 a month.
6.
His motion is to 600.
All right,
Yeah.
600. All right, that's the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
No, you made it. You can't second it.
Oh, poor Ray,
Do I have a second? It's already after 10 o'clock. Come on, folks.
Okay, second.
Okay, all in favor?
I know.
Aye. Okay, it's a done deal.
Yeah, y'all, why don't y'all give me a review?
Well deserved.
What I will do is prepare a resolution that will be
Okay. Okay.
No, I think it will be effective, but just to document it appropriately.
Do I, is there a need